Hi everyone.
Hi guys. We've had a little bit of a tech time, but you know we've done pretty well. I'm gonna say it's just been like a few audio. It's basically Sara can't hear the game audio. That's like the only actual hitch, which,
Yeah.
considering how much we're trying to do right now, I think is not actually that bad.
Yeah, for sure. I think that what we've accomplished is pretty
I mean, look at this beautiful layout. Look at it go.
pretty impressive.
She's
Yeah, we're both
gorgeous.
here in different physical places.
Yeah.
We're playing the game together, and so what if I can't hear the game? Who needs to hear
Um,
anyway?
At least it has the subtitles. You'll be experiencing the game as a hard of hearing person would. So,
Yeah.
it's only going to improve your knowledge of accessibility.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay, anyway, what day is it today? I was happy Sunday. It's not Sunday.
I think it's Friday.
Friday. Happy Friday, everyone.
It's Christmas sludge period. We love it. Thanks for joining the streams.
Sludge period.
Christmas sludge. Yeah, we're in the. I don't know if you've seen the meme, but there's that like one freeze frame from Lord of the Rings where it's like Elrond and Frodo, and it's like kind of weirdly faded over each other and like all like glowy and blurry. Basically, we're in like there's a tweet or a meme or something that's like, this is how I feel in that period between Christmas and New Year's, and it's like, yeah, that's where we are right now.
A little taste of sustainable capitalist time.
Yeah. This is how we could be. We could be in sludge period all year. Imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have the fear that permeates the entire.
Yeah, the like
work
fear of dread, the feeling of dread that embodies the whole thing. Hi, Lost and Fairy.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us at this ridiculous time.
Yeah, that's
Ridiculous
wild.
where we are, but ridiculous where you are.
Yeah, that
We
is
our biggest fan.
Yeah, truly. Doing the most for Game Assist. We appreciate it. Yeah. Do we want to talk about anything before we?
I was just thinking about that. So we're playing episode
3.
Episode 3 today. And I guess going into it, we've been talking a bit about sexuality with the last couple of episodes and about Finn and Cass.
Yes.
But we've been saving a lot of that conversation for today, so that will be juicy. And within that, we're also interested in continuing to talk about Palestine and connecting it to a lot of the things that are depicted in this game. So we're going to talk about things like pinkwashing and how colonialism and homophobia are connected, and how dope queer Palestinians are.
Yeah.
As well. And we're going to make that fit somehow.
Oh, we'll do it. I believe in us.
And whatever else comes up.
Yeah. I'm just going to check how the audio sounds for viewers. Is the music too loud or are mics too low? Let me know how things are sounding. Obviously, bear in mind the game will get a lot louder than this currently. So, if you're feeling like it's a little bit off at the moment, let us know. And yeah,
you're hearing more than me.
This is true. You are.
Or maybe not, and that's fine too.
It's all good.
And of course, we are continuing to steadily raise money for medical aid for Palestinians. Which, oh my god, my desk is a mess, but I'm gonna type in the chat. If you type in !Palestine in the chat, you will get our link to our fundraiser. If you have some Christmas money to throw that way, that would be much appreciated. What better place to spend your Christmas money than to helping Palestinians and liberating the literal birthplace of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Can't think of a better way to spend your Christmas money. If you
Absolutely.
Can afford to, that would be great. As always, that link is available at any time. So
And you can see how much we've raised so far right at the top of the screen.
Which is, what is that? 100 and...
There we go, that way. £1,357.25. Which is pretty good.
Only,
Not that far off from the next goal.
100, I'm trying to do maths, £142.75 away from our goal.
And we do giveaways at each goal, so...
We are. What are we giving away?
I've no clue. I can't remember if we decided it or not.
It's gonna be something, and I think it's gonna be something good.
It is gonna be something good. It might be games from a big... I'm trying to hint so I don't just give the game away and it's the wrong one.
Yeah.
Game from a big studio?
Yeah, like maybe...
I feel like that's what we decided for the 1,500 mark.
Yeah, I mean, we've already given away like a Far Cry game, haven't we?
Yes, I was thinking there's
Got some
another
other big
one.
ones. I think that we might have another Far Cry game. We've got some Assassin's Creed games.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So I think that might be one of them. Like the new one,
knows,
I
we'll figure it
believe.
out.
Yes, we'll work it out.
Giving something
It will
away.
be good.
If we get there today, then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But it'll be good. So if
It'll
you
be
have-
so good.
If you have £142.75 to spend right now, then you can pay double the amount that you would pay for an Assassin's Creed game.
So basically free. And it's all going to Palestine. So, like, it's basically free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's probably all the pre-game stuff.
Sounds good.
Can you?
I don't think so. I think we've obviously started an hour earlier than we usually have just because last time... I think we were streaming till about 10:30, which we would like to avoid this time. So, I vote we try and get into it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously last time we had even longer tech issues, so that didn't help.
Thanks, GB.
Thanks,
You're very
GB.
sweet, as always. #Free Palestine.
Oh, it's saying that Meet Google is sharing a window. Hang on, once, can I hide that? Yes, there we go.
Once
I've hidden
upon a
it.
time, in a wild world, there were two wolf brothers living in their home lair with their papa wolf.
I was gonna say it's kind of crazy how
They all lived
our
happily
timing
together,
around
but
playing episode 2 and it going on the channel
one day,
coincided with like Christmas and New
hunters
Year's.
took their dad.
Yeah, that was kind of wild, honestly.
So my brother
It felt like a
said,
Christmas episode in all the wrong ways.
"They had to find
Um,
out." That's when the big brother discovered that the little one was not an ordinary wolf, but a super wolf.
I can't hear, like I can hear
And then
Gonzalo Martin's voice
They
in my
worked
headphones.
together.
Yeah.
To learn how to
I feel like it's better it's this way round because I feel like you've played the game enough that you can probably
They discovered a secret hideout.
at least get some of
They
it.
could train day and night. They were happy.
Hi, thanks for joining. Is it
But the
Dual
little
Mephistos?
Got very
Oh,
sick.
thank you for joining
So
the
they
stream.
had to move
Welcome,
on.
first time
On the
chatting.
way.
Yeah.
Nice and welcoming.
We
to
love
A
that.
deadly predator
Dual
attacked them,
Mephistos. Thank you for joining the stream.
Yeah.
but they scared it
We're
away.
just kicking off
Yeah.
episode 3 of Life is Strange 2.
They decided to journey
Just Dual. Okay.
Just
to
do
the
it.
home of their nearby
Hi, Joel.
ancestors to seek help.
Seeking out their ancestors.
Finally.
That's
The tired and hungry brothers
interesting.
made it to the home of their ancestors.
Like they're talking about Claire and
The
Stephen,
old
right?
wolves invited them.
Yeah. They technically are ancestors.
They were happy to have a safe,
Technically.
warm place to
On
rest.
paper.
I don't think you have to claim all your ancestors, that's all I'm
They made
saying.
friends with a raccoon, and together
Oh, the
they went
little
on awesome
raccoon.
adventures.
That's really cute.
I love Chris as a
Unfortunately,
raccoon. That's
Yeah.
hunters were hot on their trail and found them.
I might for myself
The tiny
turn
raccoon
some of the desktop
helped
audio
brothers
down in a
escape
minute.
and got
Um,
badly hurt.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hello.
The brothers brothers had nowhere to stay again, so they decided to keep going south.
Nice.
For a whopping 28 months.
That's over 2 years. That's wild.
Thank you so much. How are we all? How are
Wall. Wheel.
I'm okay. I'm a bit I got my period, so I'm a bit under the weather today. So if I need a bunch of breaks and stuff, then that's why.
Okay, sorry, I'm just... Let me out.
But otherwise, not
sorry.
too bad.
How do I... Let me free! It won't let me free! I'm just trying to... There we go. I was just trying to turn down the desktop audio just a little. Just because I feel like in comparison to your voice, it's a bit off. But, okay, I'm back. We're back. We're so back.
Okay, is that better?
That's better, yeah.
I have no sense of it because I can't hear anything. Yeah, no, otherwise I'm okay.
I mean, I think there's a song that's meant to be playing, but it's not obviously playing right now. Oh, I think it's
it's
Gorillas.
Gorillas.
Yeah, is it Lonely Hill or something?
Melancholy Hill.
Melancholy Hill, that's it.
Hill.
Lonely Hill.
Lonely boy. Sorry,
I was gonna say, you've just been watching Gossip Girl. Lonely boy. Ick.
I just got back from shopping today. Nice. What kind of shopping? Just everyday shopping, late Christmas shopping. What was the vibe? It's weird that Sean draws them as wolves. Yeah, I never really thought about that before because I guess on paper they're related, but I feel like the wolf metaphor is pretty strongly about the racism.
Yeah. But also, yeah, because I guess it's the Puerto Lobos. Is the Gorillas one Flimsy Steve? No, it's not Flimsy Steve. You've seen that meme, right, Sara?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god, it's my favourite. It's like, hang on, I'm gonna find it and do a dramatic reading in a minute.
Okay.
I'm
going to try my best to not speak over bits of dialogue today, but because I can't hear anything, feel free to call me out.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, currently there's nothing, so there is literally nothing.
Just Daniel being a little shit.
You little shit?
He is.
Daniel, get your ass over here now.
You know, I was recently watching some home videos of, and this feels like it's reminding me of myself and my older brother. I got 2 petticoats and a skirt. Very nice.
Slay.
Sounds like a good haul.
Okay, I have the meme ready.
Okay. Hit me.
Guest rapper on Gorillaz song. I've been in N since 10, kicking product round the bend. My mum died of tuberculosis. I'm slipping into psychosis. Damon Albarn on the chorus. Ooh, Flimsy Steve. Where did you go? What have you seen? And someone there are YouTube videos of people making, trying to make a version of that, doing their best Damon Albarn impression as well, which is,
That's amazing.
Incredible.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
I felt you needed it. You need it today.
Yeah, I did.
Check the donation count.
Oh, thank you so much.
Nice.
For the donation.
Nice has donated.
Nice.
Nice has said nice.
Got it to
69.69. Slay. Nice.
And that's for Palestine.
It is. Yes. What was I going to say? Yeah, no, that is every Gorillaz song, basically. So, yeah. Yeah. Flimsy Steve.
Yeah, I can see Sean listening to that.
I can see him listening to that for sure. I do kind of want to see what he's got.
Ellery keeps bugging me to read this, but summer break's not for reading. Lies. Summer break is for reading. Should upload some pictures.
Sorry, I keep skipping through.
From my old phone on this before I get rid of it. That feels like it hits different when you know.
Yeah, when you know he doesn't have his old phone anymore.
Wow.
Wow.
My favorite MLM gay couple.
Hot dog man, banana.
Well, actually, my favorite MLM couple is Hot Dog Man and Mustard, so this is actually kind of dicey. I think that Hot Dog Man is two-timing Mustard.
I mean, they could be in a throuple.
They could be. They could be. I guess we'll find out in the next issue of Hot Dog Man.
Yeah. It's interesting he actually does have a picture of his dad in his wallet already.
That's really sweet. Does he just love his dad so much that before he had any reason to, he had a photo of him in his wallet?
I'm fine. I'm emotionally fine.
Everything's good.
I'm wearing mascara today. I'm not allowed to cry. Got his skate tool. I have one of these for my roller skates that I never use anymore because I broke my wrist skating. R.I.P. R.I.P. my wrist.
Hot Dog Man shipping drama indeed.
Absolutely. Okay, we're looking for Daniel. Oh my god, why am I... I was like, why am I using my mouse and keyboard? What the fuck am I doing? Give me a second, sorry. It's on, it's just... Oh, yeah. Can you see me? I think I've just unplugged myself slightly. Can you... Yeah? Okay. Well, that's good. I haven't completely fucked everything up. Don't mind me.
Okay, I have a quick technical request.
Yes.
Which is that on Twitch it's a bit of a lag, but it's smoother, where it's a bit jumpy on Google Meets. So
okay.
I'm happy to just end the Google Meets call because I can't hear the game anyway.
Okay. That sounds good. Right, sorry, 1 second. Just making sure my other desktop is not being crap, which it kind of is at the moment. Aha! It's alive. It lives. There we go. Yes, we can do that. Sorry, I'm now trying not to pull out the Ethernet cable. Yes, we can definitely do that.
Thanks, guys, for your patience at this time.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'm experiencing everything live on Twitch with all of y'all.
Can you hear me alright and everything still?
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm
okay.
Just watching the game with a bit of a lag.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, let's be real, we go through it quite slowly anyway, so it probably won't actually be that much of an issue.
Yeah, but if there's like a timed event, feel free to make a decision loudly.
Okay. No pressure.
Alright, dear Z-Mart sales manager, my name is Sean Diaz. I am a
16-year-old high school student.
With a 3.5 GPA.
Hang on, there we go. That's probably easier.
Yeah, this is thank you guys, a bit easier, although it's slightly cut off.
Oh yeah. I can do it.
But that's fine. It's just this is a job application.
Yeah. As a track runner, I also know how important it is to be part of a team. And since I already know your sports department, I think
it's too real. It reads like how I was writing like my resume.
I think about we had to write our personal statements to apply for uni, and I just remember some of the stuff that people came out with was so fucking funny. It's just I spend my free time looking after my brother, and I think that proves that I will be a great university student. You're just no, but okay.
When you actually think about it, it's so grim.
Yeah, it really is. It's you've done nothing yet. You're a child, and it's just
Yeah, but we're being conditioned
to show we have experience in something, even though we don't.
Future laborers for capital.
It's mad, isn't it? Well, it's I think about all the stuff where when you're at school and you have to do all this not extra credit stuff, but you have to do extracurriculars, even though school is taking up most of your time. You have to do all these other things. You have to learn an instrument. You have to have some kind of sport. You have to do this. You have to do that, just to show that you're a well-rounded person to future employers. It's just mad. Yeah.
Yeah, when you really think about it.
Yeah. Also, I'm loving Esteban's obvious corrections.
Yeah.
That's the cover letter. Sorry, I realised I was on my mouse and keyboard still, so I was like, no.
Entirely fair. I also hate not using a controller.
It's because the game I've been playing at the moment. Oh, sorry.
Kind of lame.
Is that him like putting a filter on an Instagram photo?
He's so cool. Jen will definitely like this one.
Jen will love it. I don't know, maybe Jen's a furry too. I don't know why he isn't trying to appeal to that.
Well, what's the concert?
Shit. I can't wait for the show with the whole crew.
The failure plus guest real.
That feels like it's
It feels a little
loaded.
bit like max stream state, doesn't it? Like
Yeah. You're a failure. I didn't remember going to a concert for a band called You're a Failure.
Man, that would fucking kill me if we found this.
I mean, he wouldn't,
So
but
we
yeah.
better not find it.
It's interesting because I think that I don't remember like how much this is actually implied or anything, but I think that the way that drugs
Now I
are
need to
present
seal
in
it
this
on.
game is quite interesting, considering like the specific way that Mexican Americans are racialized.
Yeah.
Through this like racist trope of them being like drug dealers.
Yeah.
Like necessarily criminal and,
I should take a class.
And dealing drugs and doing drugs and
Yeah. Yeah, it feels, I mean, it's about to become real relevant this episode, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
no,
maybe
that's
something to keep an eye on, actually.
Pat thinks I'll stop
I don't know if I
skating
ever
and get a
thought
car
about
when
it
I
that
turn 16.
deeply before.
Wrong.
It feels like it's throughout as well, like it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna do some walking around first.
Yeah, before we get thrown out of our house again. Savor the memory a little bit.
Yep.
Sucks to be the enemy. But he can't bug me all the time. I would have been pissed if I was there.
Oh.
Asshole.
Oh, fucking hell.
Right. Hey neighbour, I wanted to let you know I didn't appreciate you calling the cops on me and my friends last week. I know it was late, but it was Saturday and we weren't having a big party and you could have just asked me to turn the music down. Plus, we didn't leave those bottles in the gutter on purpose. Instead, you made a big show and got the cops involved. They hassled us for an hour. They even thought I stole one of my own cars. I'm glad my kids weren't home to see this. Try knocking next time.
Such a dickhead. Also, this has happened to me before.
Yikes.
Yeah, like literally just being with other brown people and
Having the cops called on.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Bah. That kid deserved to get shoved, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I hope the hospital medical bills were horrendous.
I hope they couldn't pay them.
Yeah! I mean, yes.
Take that.
Take that! Get him! Oh. Yeah, I know, I'm supposed to find Daniel, it's fine.
Maybe he's invisible now? That is the kind of salad I like.
Oh, I don't get to actually
Oh.
read the recipe?
Oh no.
That is the
We
kind
could
of
have had
salad
another
I like.
Esteban recipe.
I wanted another Esteban recipe. We liked the last one. It looks like...
Oh, you know what? That reminds me that I'm going to put the stuff with the bow tie pasta on my shopping list for this week.
That was so good.
I think I deserve some
Absolutely.
Chef Diaz's bow tie pasta.
Mhm.
That would kill me.
No, it won't let me see the actual recipe. That's so sad.
That is sad.
Pat got in trouble for his last barbecue. Hope he does it again. So I
Oh
can
my
come
god,
to-
he's a barbecue dad.
Of course he's a barbecue dad.
Yeah, you're right.
That's everything about him screams barbecue dad.
You're right. I love one man.
But he does like great barbecue as well.
Yeah, he probably does. He did. But I'm okay.
Sorry, Andrew. I'm the free babysitter now.
No problem, Evelyn. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Whale tickets. Aww.
This would be Arcadia Bay related.
All aboard Ahab's Moby Day tour. Free pics of you, the crew, and the whales. Stunning. Amazing.
It feels like, I mean, there's no mention of 2 whales, so maybe it's not.
No. No, I think it's just like a kind of West Coast vibe.
Yeah. I know they have like a couple of Easter eggs.
Dude,
Yeah.
I told you to stay out of my room.
Ow! That hurt!
Yeah, I'm not fucking around anymore. Got it?
Well, I'd rather go shampoo.
Hear me, Daniel?
Yeah, I would say that even though I've had this sibling age dynamic, I've been a little kid.
Watch out, man.
You started it, dickhead!
Who
What
are
is this
obviously not
crap?
two boys.
No. No, this is true.
You fighting again? You proud of yourself?
Stop it!
Enough! Getting tired of this. Sean, what happened? Now!
How? Oh!
He always gets mad
He's
at
totally lying. You little...
Enough!
I think it was timed and I didn't realise.
Listen, because I'm tired of this crap. Okay? This is my house too, not your playground. You hear me? Jeez.
I wish it told me when it was going to do a timed
You
one.
guys are working my last
Yeah.
nerve this week.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay, mijo. I'm going to talk with you first. You know the drill. Bedroom and no games.
I didn't do anything.
Uh-huh. Let's talk.
Ugh,
Now.
This is so stupid.
But Dad!
You really taught that.
Dad, I want to
Sorry, he just got absolutely roasted by Esteban there. Did you hear that? He like kicks the book and Esteban's like, you really showed that book. Get wrecked.
Like
Oh
you're
my
gonna
god.
lose me. Daniel's always right.
That poor little book, I know.
Listen, Sean. I can't do this on my own. I can't. I need you to help me. I know you don't want to babysit Daniel. You grow up, you need space, more freedom. I get it. But we're a trio now, and you gotta take some responsibility. That little shit is just a kid. You're almost an adult.
I know that. And I do look out for him. I swear. But he's a little brat.
So were you.
And you
Get
had
wrecked.
8 years of being spoiled before you had to share toys with your little brother. I know it might sound cheesy, but we have to be good role models for him. He's a Diaz, right?
Yeah, it's I always I always forget that
try to be
this episode starts with a
super
scene.
bro.
Just try to be there for him.
Feels like a
You
lot
are now. Says me.
in context of the ending, which we will obviously talk
Later,
about
boy.
when we get there
Go talk to
in
your brother.
6 hours' time.
Go to the movies tonight if you guys don't
Yep.
like to go. I know you love to hear this. But I'm proud of you. Both of you.
Okay, get back to work.
Such a good guy.
He is! Ah!
But I know that we talked a little bit in the first couple episodes about like the adultification of Sean.
Mm.
And I think we talked a lot about that in the context of like, you know, how young men of color are like adultified.
Yeah.
And also, you know, them being put into the situation where they're displaced and homeless.
Yeah.
But also, this kind of gives some insight into a process that starts before that because of their mother leaving.
Yeah. Well, so there's adultification, which is like a different thing slightly to parentification, right?
Right. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Sean has had to be parentified earlier because of his mum leaving. And I mean, although obviously that scene makes it seem like that's the start, I mean, I'm sure there are many ways in which Sean has still had to. I mean, he's obviously babysitting Daniel a lot. He's probably cooking for Daniel a lot. Like, there's probably a lot of stuff that he's been doing that he's kind of just not really thought about that he's been doing for Daniel. But that's kind of the official, I guess, moment where it begins formally. But like, there's always there will have been moments where, you know, Sean was old enough to cook, so he could cook for both of them when Esteban was out or busy, and things like that.
We know that.
Yeah, the pasta.
Yeah, the pasta and the complex foods. Yeah.
So yeah, but it is different to, because I don't think there's not a point in that exchange where Esteban is adultifying Sean, even though he's saying you're almost an adult. He's very much still treating him as the kid, in that he is the authority figure in this kid's life.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that he's also, like, he's being very clearly sympathetic to what his needs are as a teenager. And, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
A growing man, but he's also kind of saying, like, you know, unfortunately, we're in this situation where, like, you know, I know that people love to valorize single parents, and obviously what parents do is, like, incredible, but I'm often hesitant to valorize single parents because they don't need to be turned into heroes. What they need is
help. Yeah.
They need community and financial and material support. You know, they don't need, like, people affording them for help.
No, because that's not really the point, is it? Like, it's not what actually gets you through. Like,
and I kind of think that, like, in this situation, you could see, like, obviously Esteban is expressing, like, how much he's struggling. Like, at the end of the day, he's just, like, one guy, and he's bringing up 2 children, and one of them is very young. Like, that's such a difficult thing for him.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I think that, you know, I think that's probably something that maybe is less talked about when we talk about Karen leaving, because we talk about how hard that is on Sean and Daniel, and obviously it is, and that's important, but I don't think that we talk enough about, like, how unfair that is on Esteban.
Yeah, because it's a whole support system, and I think there's such an assumed thing even for, I don't know, yeah, it's just this assumed thing where even if single parents are being given some support, it's never going to be the same as, like, if they were raising a kid with the other parent.
Yeah, and I just think that it's in terms of, like, the racial dynamic as well, and the power dynamic between Karen and Esteban. Like, you know, Esteban, he left his home in Mexico, and he left his family in Mexico, and he came to Seattle on his own.
Yeah.
From what we can tell, which means that he left his entire support system behind, and there are many, like, migrants and refugees who do that. But Karen, you know, has her family. Yeah. And I think that when you put those 2 characters side by side, there's a lot to think about, because obviously, like, Karen's family is not healthy or good, and that's why she chooses to leave them, and that's a decision that, to some extent, especially when you interact with Claire and Stephen, you can respect. But Esteban needed a family.
Yeah, if he'd had like a support system around him, it would have been very different.
So I think that I think that when you think about Esteban's needs in the situation, it feels different thinking about Karen leaving.
Yeah, and especially when he's also financially he's not just trying to care for the emotional and physical needs of his children, he's also trying to financially support them with his business, and obviously that takes a lot of time. And as we saw from like, I think there was like a invoice in like the first episode, and you can kind of see, he's taking, and like I think Sean says something like he's been taking on loads of projects lately and stuff like that. And it's like, because he has to not only financially support his kids, but like things like Sean might be going to college soon. One day Daniel will probably go to college, in obviously Esteban's mind. There's all sorts of things, like these long-term things, that he just doesn't have support for. And he doesn't even have financial support from Karen, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, and obviously, Karen's from a rich background. And her parents suck, but like, they have money.
Yeah.
And she's not even financially supporting him.
Yeah, which I think is like the very least she could do.
Especially as a rich white woman in America, when her ex-husband is someone who has migrated to the US.
Yeah, and I mean, Claire and Stephen, even if Karen had disappeared without a trace and wasn't offering any financial support, because I think that maybe you could argue that like as soon as she makes that decision, she no longer has access to his funds. But Claire and Stephen,
they could have been helping this whole time. And things like college support, things like those longer term things, at least, like, even if they don't consider, the raising of their 2 grandchildren to be important, at least things like their education and their, them being able to, have a good life. It's just all these things where it's just like, why were they not helping? Or not even helping, it would have just been support, like basic support.
Yeah, but anyway, as always, this is a Karen club. They have 0 redeeming qualities. You will never convince me otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, I think this scene really puts it into focus how much Esteban is struggling.
Yeah. And it's things like laundry, things like just running a house and running a business is exhausting, just on its own. That would be like a huge undertaking, and he's doing all of it. I'm gonna see if I can pick up any of the bits from his.
Jeez, we really fucked up on this one. Dad loves his trophy.
Yeah, and obviously, again, yes, it's remarkable, but he shouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah.
Can I come in? It's the big, bad bug.
Well, that's not very respecting his boundaries, but okay.
I'm not listening. La 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 la. I don't hear anything.
No, it's not.
La, la.
Alright, let's nose around Daniel's room.
Yeah.
Is that Power Bear?
I think it was.
Oh.
You are nice! Exclamation mark.
Look at his little drawing.
I know! With a little fringe and everything!
Ooh, Dad confiscated the play box after that. Daniel was a total rage-ball.
Look, maths is hard.
It is.
I would struggle with these. I am struggling with these. I'm trying to work... Hang on. And he's what, 9?
Yeah.
This is quite advanced.
Yeah, I have no idea what...
I can't even remember.
Doing it. Like, I was actually... Okay, so you would never guess this about me, but I was really good at math. until I was like 16.
You were a math girly.
Against my will.
Yeah.
But like when I was in high school in Canada, I was doing like AP.
Damn. You were really doing it.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then in my A levels, I did chemistry for 1 year, and after that, I never did any mathematics ever again. So,
Real unfair.
so,
I have always hated maths. Maths has always been. I actually had a teacher in like I think it was like year 3, who like saw my parents like at a parent teacher thing, and he was like, "Well, we all know Charlotte's, maths is not Charlotte's strongest suit," and they were like, "Okay, that was maybe a little bit presumptuous in year 3. Thank you."
wow, 3.
I know.
Wow.
I know, yeah.
Imagine like making a judgment about a child's abilities.
I know.
that young.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, he wasn't wrong, but you don't have to say it, you know?
Anyone who wants to be a teacher who's watching this stream, take notes. That is not how to behave.
I mean, yeah. There's so many ways that you could not do things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Why has he got toilet paper rolls?
What is he
Probably
making?
he's
with all
making
of that?
things out of the cardboard.
I
used to do that.
he's so smart.
I used to do that all the time as a kid. I'd collect like the toilet rolls and I'd make stuff out of it. Is
Cute.
that not?
No. That's basically, so when I did scouts / cubs / beavers. I'm not touching it.
I better do something about Daniel.
I'm getting to it. Oh my god. Sorry. Yeah, like we did a lot of like craft stuff, so we do that in that context, but like if you didn't have that, then that makes sense that you would do that not out in that context.
Oh yeah, I did that at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really have anyone to play with.
Yeah,
That was my age.
that makes sense.
A long time.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do so many weird things. I would like give my Barbies little haircuts.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Thinking the future.
She was starting from a young age. They all had little fuck ass bobs.
I mean,
Yeah.
Did this for Daniel's birthday.
Laser tag picture.
He was so happy with it. Whoa.
A power bear in Sean's sketch is
Totally rad.
giving furry.
Yeah, it really is. It's so human.
Yeah.
A young space warrior should never pout. We need to stand strong against the enemy.
He's doing a voice for this as well.
Come on, man.
I'm running out of punchlines
Yeah,
here.
I vaguely remember that.
leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Can we talk about Power Bear's weird?
Just leave me
Oh no, okay. The pants ripping berserker is back in town. He's literally got a little button show there. He shouldn't have messed with Power Bear, clearly.
Yeah, that's what happens when you fuck with power bear.
It's so true.
Oh, I forgot about Bobby the Yeti. I brought it back from that field trip to Vancouver. I mean, who does that? Other than a super cool big
Bobby
dog.
the Yeti is very cute.
That is very cute.
He's right, Daniel.
The way he's got his head in his hand.
No.
Bobby does.
Why are you still here?
Honestly, fair.
Go away.
Oh, you kept this guy. We got him from that creepy circus,
that-
remember?
Is
Wanted
that-
us so bad.
What's
Got him for
the...
you shitting at that freaking target.
It's not salad fingers, if that's what you think it is.
Okay, yeah. that's-
Maybe it is though.
Because of me.
Doesn't look unlike salad fingers.
You.
It sure is creepy.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a salad fingers reference in Life is Strange.
That feels right, doesn't it?
I mean, considering the like circa 2013 memes that
Yeah.
in the original Life is Strange, I
I've
wouldn't
always
put
wanted
past
my
them.
toys.
Yeah.
Does this even work anymore? Not after you took care of it.
That's what it means to be a little sibling.
Is getting your older siblings toys.
And being really excited about it.
Because you want what they have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey. That's cool.
It's because we look up to you. It's a compliment.
I'm sorry. I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing.
Okay if I sit down?
It's so funny. I would share with Harry all the time, but he would never share with me. He had a very cool Pokemon game on his DS that I didn't get given, and I was like, I just wanted to turn with it occasionally, and he was like, no. And I was like, but I want to try.
I think it's probably different for a lot of people, but for me, I looked up to my older brother so much that I always wanted this stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think... Yeah, I don't know. I think something about, like, having me being a girl and having a younger brother, I think there was probably an earlier point where he didn't want to play with what I had anymore because it was girly.
Yeah, it's interesting that, because, like, okay, with my sister, I think that, like, for a lot of reasons, she kind of mostly, like, kept to herself when she was a teenager, and, like, I definitely looked up to her, but I just spent so much more time with my brother, and,
yeah.
like, he looked after me loads, and so I basically just, like, attached my entire sense of identity, onto wanting to be like him.
Yeah.
And liking everything that he liked and blah blah blah. But I think that it's so much more accepted for like a young girl to want to be like her brother because like it's so much more accepted to be a tomboy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, whereas for Harry, like, I feel like he hit, like, 5, and it was, well, not even that. He like, started school, and suddenly it was like, oh, that's girly, oh, I hate that, you know, and it's just like, there were things he definitely wanted to play with. To be fair as well, though, I did have a lot of second-hand toys from... So I had second-hand toys from my cousins, who were both girls, but also from my mum's cousins' kids, who were both boys. So we had, like, I mean, my mum was very conscious to just be, like, not particularly gendered when I was, like, younger. So I had a lot of toys of, like, various, you know. I didn't really, and I also never really liked... I liked Barbies, but I didn't like baby dolls. Wasn't a fan.
Yeah. I mean, I got given a baby doll once, and I thought it was so weird.
Yeah, I hated them. It's because, especially like when we were growing up, it was like fucking. They all like peed themselves and stuff. It was so weird.
Yeah, I remember that, and I remember seeing the adverts being like, "Isn't it so cool? It's like the realistic life, like."
And you're like, absolutely not. Actually, I don't want that.
Yeah,
but like
in summary, the intro to Greta Gerwig's Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is it about baby dolls?
They just gross me out so much. It's just weird to me. I don't know. And it's because I think as well they're trying to be lifelike. It's that uncanny valley thing. So when you're a kid, it's like, ugh. But like so many of the girls in my school, like loved, like, you know, had loads of them and like loved all of that stuff, and I just didn't. I'm not like other girls. But like genuinely, I didn't like them. I just never.
Yeah, I definitely had like a from a young age. I can see a lot of internalized misogyny in like, my choices about like what I wanted to play with and stuff. But for baby dolls, I think like that. I don't know. I just like I think that there was a minute where I wanted one, but there also then immediately I was really creeped out by it.
Yeah. How does that sound now, Sparks V?
Oh, thank you, Sparks V, for mentioning that.
I've turned myself down a bit so that comparatively it's not quite as off, and then you can just turn the sound up.
Thanks, Charlotte.
But yeah, hopefully that's all right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I guess in terms of this game, I'd not really thought about it much before, but there's a lot to be said about the fact that they're brothers.
Yeah, I think it's that like. I mean, again, it's not something that's like my specific experience of having siblings, but like, there's probably something to do with like being a younger brother with an older brother or a younger sister with an older sister. Still too quiet. Okay, I've got Sara up really loud, like the loudest that they'll go. So if I turn myself down even more, and then you can turn the sound up, and hopefully that's a bit better comparatively. Let me know how that is. And then the desktop audio is obviously not on at the moment, but
yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I can.
Yeah,
I
bet they're the loudest possible. So, yeah. Let me know. That's better. Okay. Yay.
Okay. Thanks so much for letting us know, guys.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah. Oh, even if you think it's just you, always say please, because you never know. Like, it's always worth testing. Because also, if you say it, then someone else might go, "Oh yeah, that's me too."
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think especially in the context of like the game's narrative about racism, right? Because so much of it is like specifically what a young man of color goes through, and then when we're thinking about like a lot of the decisions that we make, we're thinking about what it means to be like a young racialized man navigating the world, and what lessons we're teaching our brother about what that means and how to do that.
Yeah, and it makes you think about, like, obviously Daniel is young at the moment, being treated quite well comparatively by like people like Claire and Stephen, and because he's young and he's a kid, and he's obviously, he's not being adultified, he is very much a child, but there are a
lot of ways in which the things that we see happen to Sean are like a potential destiny for Daniel.
It's like it could happen to Daniel, and it probably will happen to Daniel in certain ways. So it's not just about making those decisions to help him as a person, but also to help him navigate, demonstrate like how you navigate the world around you when these things happen to you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because I've been thinking about this kind of thing a little bit recently. And okay, this seems like maybe a slightly different example, but I was rewatching The Sound of Music. Classic. I do that every Christmas.
I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through.
Really?
Not as a person with a brain, anyway. When I was a child, I probably have, but like I haven't ever watched. I don't remember it. I remember
watch
bits
it regularly, so
Valid.
I know it very well, and have very up-to-date opinions on it.
Excellent.
But we were watching it, and at the end, where spoiler for a 60-year-old movie, but the part where at the end where they're trying to recruit Captain Von Trapp to the Nazi like naval forces. And he chooses to like take the family and flee Austria. My brother was like, "Do you think that was the right thing to do? Like because or would it have been better to go along with it and like keep his children safe?" And I mean, I didn't even need to think about it. I was like, in my opinion, it was the right thing to do, because the last thing that I would ever want to do is model behavior to my children, which is like complying with fascism. And I know that this is like complex and it's potentially dicey, but like I didn't even have to think about it. In my opinion, like modeling like sound like ethical values is more important, and I know that like puts their children more at risk, but I don't know.
I feel like as well, it's not like it's not like society in Nazi Austria was safe anyway, right? I mean, obviously they had no way of knowing that yet, but like it wouldn't have been safer necessarily.
Yeah, and that's really important too, is right, because, and we talked about this a bit in regards to this game, like living in a racist society, like any kind of like safety that you have supposedly is precarious.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, like prioritizing modeling like good values over like the idea of maintaining like physical personal safety at any moral cost is how I think of it.
Yeah, and that's something that I think when playing this game last time, I was very much focused on personal physical safety. But I think that's something that I have very much learned through playing this game, but also through obviously discussions of Palestine. Like, it's not just about your personal physical safety. Like, that's not the priority anymore when something this serious happens. Like, you have to, there are different priorities at play, basically. And yeah, those moral priorities are actually bigger and more important than...
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I've seen like quite a few Palestinians talking about, like in Gaza right now, especially talking about their struggles with this kind of thing. Like, I heard this one man basically talking, I think he was on LBC, and this one Palestinian man said, you know, I feel now like I regret having, like, my children are the joy of my life. I will do anything to keep them safe, but now I feel like I don't know if I did the right thing bringing children into this world, and what a horrible thing to have to think, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think, again, like, when we think about it on a larger scale, Palestinians are having to make these kind of decisions every day.
Yeah.
But I think for many of them, like, they know that there is no safety within like the Israeli regime, and they know that, like, death is so close.
Yeah.
That they prioritize, like, resisting oppression, and they prioritize their, like, political and moral values over the possibility of death. And again, I don't want to valorize that. I don't want to be like, you know,
no one should have to make that choice, but
no one should have to make that choice. Like, they shouldn't be in that fucking position.
No.
You know, obviously, like, I admire the ability to make that decision, but they shouldn't be, no one should be tested to that degree.
No, definitely not. It makes me think a bit of when, so obviously in like Victorian English society, death was like everywhere because there were diseases, there was just constantly something, and you know, people were generally pretty malnourished. There are a lot of people, you know, living in very, very like poor situations, and even for rich people, it was like hard to have children and things like that because medical care was just not there yet. And it makes me think a lot of like how many people in like Victorian and Edwardian society had so many kids just because they were so likely to die. It was just like, well, we'll just keep having them. We'll just keep having children because otherwise, you know, maybe some of them will survive, basically. Obviously such a different circumstance, but it makes me think a lot of that just in terms of like, it's a very different...
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to also say kind of on that like, you know, one Palestinian man or however many Palestinians are asking these kinds of questions of themselves, and that's, you know, absolutely, obviously fine. And I can't imagine ever being in that position and having to think about it, the safety of my children in that way. But the way that other people talk about Palestinians having children is absolutely fucking horrendous. And we see this kind of rhetoric with regards to like poor and disabled people as well all the time.
It's like it's social eugenics, right? Like it's a kind of...
Exactly, it's just eugenics, right? So if like, for the record, if you ever hear anyone talking about how like Palestinians should not be having children, shut that the fuck down, because that's eugenics. That's like, that's fucked up.
I think it's, and it makes me, again, like, I'm again very different, well, bigger but also less immediate situation, but it makes me think of when people talk about now, you know, even in Western world, like they talk about, I don't know if I want to have kids because I don't know if there's going to be an environment left, you know, by the time they're adults or whatever. But I think it's interesting how these discussions of like those kind social issues create that kind of rhetoric, right? Like particular, like especially things like climate change and genocide. You know, you're gonna have to have those thoughts that you never had to think of before, because and that those are eugenics thoughts, in that you're not putting eugenics on yourself, but the society is putting that upon you, because they're creating these moral dilemmas, because the world is not a safe place, right? So you wouldn't ever have to have those thoughts. You wouldn't ever have to think about things like that. You wouldn't ever have to be practical in that way, if we lived in a just world, you know, in a world that felt safe to us.
Yeah.
It's only the feeling of precarity and the feeling of fear that creates those kinds of thoughts. Obviously there are people going, these people should not have children, that is, you know, pure eugenics, but it's when people are kind of doing that to themselves and kind of having those thoughts themselves, that's... I don't know if I'm expressing this properly.
No, that makes complete sense to me, because actually I think that what you're alluding to, which I absolutely agree with, is that sometimes I think that we talk about our personal feelings about wanting or not wanting children in a very depoliticized way.
Yeah.
But I think that what you're identifying is that it's actually a deeply political issue.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. Like those feelings, as Lost and Fairy is saying, like in the autistic community, they often talk about whether they want to have biological kids because they know that they'll probably be autistic and will grow up with the same trauma, because the world has not changed. But if a world was a safe place for autistic people, if a world felt like it met your needs, if you didn't feel ostracized, if you felt like you had community and safety, that would not be a thought that you have to have.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a friend of mine who is Pakistani and also wants kids, and she has kind of said to me, like, I don't know if I want to raise, like, Pakistani Muslim children in this country. Like, I don't know what to do, because, like, obviously, like, I've spent my entire life experiencing the trauma of racism in this country, and I just, like, don't, like, I want children, but I don't want my child to go through that. But, like, like, what can you do, you know? Like, I want children, and I know that I have to teach my child what racism is. I have to watch my child experience racism, and that's a deeply painful and horrible thing. But, like, we can't what can we do?
Yeah absolutely. The state that we live in, the place we live in, the context we live in, is what is creating those uncertainties, because you would not have that if racism and capitalism didn't exist and the world wasn't in the state that it was in. You would never be having those thoughts. It wouldn't be a question. It would be like, I want kids. I mean, I have kids, you know?
Yeah, mate, like, if I didn't have to think about financial planning and the fact that, like, at this current moment in time, I do not have a long-term partner, which is a financial issue.
Yeah.
Then I'd have a baby already.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be so fucking for real. I'd have a baby by now.
Yeah. But, like, the way that capitalism impacts our society, we don't get those choices. Like, nothing is truly our choice like that. Like, you can't make that decision without the political context that we live in, right? Like, I don't want kids. I don't know if I don't want kids because I wouldn't have the support that I would need to have kids. I don't really know. Like, is that why? Probably. I do feel like I would struggle a lot. I also just don't feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of factors at play, and some of them are personal, but a lot of them are political, and they are a result of politics in that way. And I think it's so interesting for us to bring it back to the game. Like, for Esteban, obviously he's had 2 children with a white woman, thinking that woman would be there for the upbringing of his children, obviously. And now is in such a difficult situation because he's having to teach his kids about racism. He's having to shield them from some things and teach them things that he doesn't want to have to teach them. He doesn't want them to ever have to go through. You know, the stuff with that letter from the neighbour, or like the letter he sent to the neighbour, where it says like, I'm so glad my kids weren't here, at least to see what happened, you know? And it's like, you're having to constantly, you're not only having to deal with racism yourself, but you're having to constantly navigate that in terms of how do you teach your children to deal with it, and do you tell your children, do you do this, do you do that? You know, there's just these constant questions that he never, I mean, he obviously thought he'd have to have some of them, but you never quite know to what extent, do you? And also, he didn't grow up in the UK. He didn't grow up in America. He grew up in Mexico. So it's a very different experience, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that like the point that you make, I think again, this conversation about thinking about the Karen's choice to leave actually in the context of how it affects Esteban.
Yeah.
Like, you're right, like he from what we can tell went into family planning with the assumption that they would be a 2-parent house with the income of a 2-parent house, and also that a white woman would be there to protect his racialized kids in a way that honestly he can't. And I feel like it really can't be overstated, the role that like a white woman could play in their house to protect them.
Yeah, 100%. And he just he didn't get that opportunity to have that kind of safety.
Yeah. Hi, Ms. Mango Place.
Thank you for subscribing with Prime.
On a similar note, my paternal grandmother is Colombian, married a white man, and had 3 kids, and essentially raised them to be as white passing as possible. It was to protect them, but there's a ton of self-inflicted racism there. Yeah, that is really hard. That's really, really hard. And there are a lot of parents who make decisions like that in the interest of, you know, protecting their children. But it's, you know, and I'm not trying to pass judgment on that, because I have my own feelings about decisions that my parents made that similarly, like, I can't pass as white, like I just can't. Yeah, I'm too obviously like dark for that. I'm not white passing. However, like, there are other things that my parents did to try and assimilate into white culture that now as an adult, like, I actually feel like deep regret about that, because it makes me feel like it contributed to my internalizing white supremacy, and it contributed to a lot of the ways that I like hurt myself or find myself in hurtful relationships or feel alienated and isolated. So there's a lot of ways in which, you know, parents sometimes think, you know, if I assimilate my racialized child into white supremacy, then that will protect them. But white supremacy is never going to protect us, right?
No.
Like, the only way to protect us in the long run is to dismantle white supremacy.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes back to. So I can really sympathize with why decisions like that are made, but it causes more harm than good. And it's something that I think about a lot when I think about, like, inshallah, raising my own children.
Yeah, definitely.
My own brown children.
That also makes me think a bit of, not to empathize with Israel, just to preface this.
Great start.
But the way that at least the formation of Israel was kind of is presented by Western sources, right, is that there is so much anti-Semitism in the West, and Zionism is a response to that, to try and create this kind of safe haven, to kind of reject that. And obviously it's interesting because it has caused so much more damage, right? And actually it is not an anti-Semitic project. No, it's not a pro-Semitic project, right? It is anti-Semitic in its existence, because it goes against so much of not only Judaism, but also it contradicts what the experience of the Jewish diaspora is. And at the same time is genociding, is genocidal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's so just sorry. You can...
Yeah, no, that's a really good example. Sorry, I didn't mean
It's
to
okay.
interrupt.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I think of that in terms of like the narrative is, well, it's not safe to be Jewish in society, and it's like, rather than dismantle anti-Semitism, rather than work collectively across the diaspora to combat that anti-Semitism, especially post World War II, like, rather than do that work, they went, no, you know what, fuck that, let's just leave, go somewhere else and fuck up there instead, you know,
and do this to someone else,
and do this to someone else, and literally learn like all the lessons we should have learned from anti-Semitism across the West. We haven't learned any of them. We've just we just moved somewhere else and projected them onto other people, onto Arab people, and it's just and then as well being a very an ethnocentric state, you know, like trying to be this in I don't know, in the way that obviously whenever people kind of flatten what Hitler did and said and his perspectives, this idea of like the Aryan person, but like most of Israel is white, right? And maybe they don't fit certain parameters of like what classic whiteness looks like in the West, but they are white. A lot of them are European, and it's just the way that they've kind of recreated that ideal, right? In a lot of ways, and in terms of the militarism as well, like the kind of obsessive, like militaristic state, everyone has to be fit and healthy, and that kind of priority. I
think it's a good example, right? Because obviously, like, anti-Semitism, especially in the like 19th century and the early 20th century, even before the rise of the Nazis, was at an extreme violent level across Russia and Europe, like with, you know, mass pogroms and genocidal campaigns against Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews, who are obviously like in that context a racialized people and ethnic minority. So that's very real. Anti-Semitism is very real and horrific, but anti-Semitism can only be understood as part and parcel of white supremacy, right?
Yeah.
Which is really just to kind of emphasize or summarize what you're saying. So, the Zionist kind of ideology. For people who don't know, I think that this is important to know. In the first place, from the inception of the Zionist project, the founders of it said point blank that, you know, anti-Semitism in Europe, we shouldn't try to eradicate it. It can't be eradicated. That was their argument.
Yeah.
Therefore, the solution is to create an ethno-state and to create like a settler colonial project. I think in the first place, many anti-Zionists in general, including myself, but also importantly, many anti-Zionist Jews would argue that it's that actually we must believe and we must work towards the eradication of anti-Semitism across the world.
Yeah.
So that Jewish people can be safe wherever they live in the world.
Yeah.
So first there's that. Yeah. And then in the second place, there's the fact that the creation of an ethno-state can never guarantee the safety of Jewish people.
No.
Firstly, because the Zionist project encourages anti-Semitism in various ways, by actively working with, anti-Semitic figures all the time, like Donald Trump, for example. Yeah. But also, like, at its very core, you can see ways in which it's an anti-Semitic ideology. For example, it encourages a homogenous and racist way of thinking about Jewish people. Yeah. As like a single homogenous ethnic group that thinks in a single homogenous way, and etc. I mean, when you really break that down, those narratives, you think, well, actually, this is an incredibly anti-Semitic way of characterizing the Jewish people, who are obviously very complex and diverse. Yeah. And across the world, encompass various ethnicities and histories. but and then, you know, we've already talked about this, so I'll be brief on that point, but also like in the existence of any kind of oppressive project like a settler colonial project, we talked I think in the first episode about how this actually like creates a perpetual position of insecurity for the oppressor as well as the oppressed, right? So actually Zionism, it only creates more anti-Semitism.
Yeah. And it also, it's still like the amount of money and resource that Israel has to do what it does. Imagine if that was given to the Jewish diaspora as a whole. Imagine if that power was given to them and they actually worked together to eradicate anti-Semitism and eradicate white supremacy. Like, imagine.
Right.
You know?
Right? Like, yeah, imagine if that money was being spent on universal housing and healthcare and education for people across the world, which would like automatically benefit the Jewish diaspora of those countries.
Yeah.
Like, think about how many like billions of tax dollars Americans are paying to the state of Israel that could go into universal support for the American people, which is part of the point, because the US, after this, I think even before the state of Israel, has the largest Jewish population in the world.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about Jewish safety, then we need to be talking about like material safety for everyone in every country in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I think that reframing, and I want to be clear that like in no way, shape or form do I want to speak for Jewish people, but I am echoing the sentiments of many anti-Zionist Jews that I have learned from. That if we want to talk about Jewish safety, then we need to understand that not only can safety never be at the expense of another group of people, but also we need to be looking at these kind of material issues.
Yeah. Yes. I think I made my point. Okay. I think I was
a
little bit meandering, but yeah. I think that is it. Just the way we were talking about, kind of specifically that like attempted assimilation of whiteness.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what Zionism is in a way. It's attempt to create its own Western power, but not in the West. Well, I say its own America's Western power, but not in the West, right? Like
that's settler colonialism, baby.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
It's not like I'm home.
You might as well. I never see you. We don't even play games anymore. We don't do anything.
Daniel, I want to hang out with my friends sometimes. You're gonna be doing the same thing in a couple of years.
Hi. I don't want to grow up.
I can really sympathize with Daniel here.
Yeah.
Here.
I remember feeling like that too.
Sorry I took
when
it.
my
That's what
siblings
you
were
wanted?
growing up.
That stupid watch?
Yeah.
You said you'd get me one at the thrift store last week, but you forgot. Like before.
Well, you better keep this watch then.
Wow! Thanks, Sean. This is so cool.
He's so happy.
I'll keep it forever and ever.
I think when I was younger with my younger brother, like I definitely did, while I was still living at home, still make a lot of effort to spend time with him and things like that, and we had like a lot in common still. But yeah, I do definitely feel like that's probably how my brother felt when I went to uni, because I just wasn't there.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
When my siblings left for uni, I was so heartbroken. Like I can't even tell you. It was absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I just, I for years I remember feeling like, I don't know, there's like a kind of like, there's a feeling of grief or loss. Like we could never be that close again, and I could never be like the center of their world ever again.
I definitely, like my parents have told me before that like when I left for uni, it really changed things in a way they just didn't expect. Like they knew they'd all miss me, but like changed the shape of the family. Like, it really did. And obviously, like, you know, I was young and I was going through my own shit at the time. But yeah, it's something I'd never really thought, like, never really deeped until this point where I'm just really thinking now about, like, how hard that must have been, especially as, like, my brother is 6 years younger than me. Like, that must have been really fucking hard. You know?
Yeah, I love that we are here offering the younger sibling and the older sibling perspectives.
Yeah, we are. We've got both sides. But yeah, it must feel so, especially as a young kid, to like really to lose a family member in that way. That must be so hard.
And I think that I want to make it clear as well that obviously now as an adult I understand that, like, and I'm particularly talking about my older brother because we just had a very, like, special relationship.
Yeah.
Like, especially close relationship. Obviously now as an adult I understand that it's not good or healthy to be the center of someone's world for your whole life. But
no, but as a child it's a big change, right? Like, you've had someone prioritizing your needs and then suddenly they're not there prioritizing your needs anymore, right? Like, it's a very, and I mean, obviously we don't have to go into it here, but, like, you know, in your particular household, as you said before, like, your brother felt like very much a parent to you in a lot of ways, and like you're basically losing a parental figure in your life, and that's a huge thing. And okay, maybe it's not healthy exactly to have that situation, but that was the situation you were in, and that's a massive thing. And I think it's interesting because I always kind of assumed when I went away for uni that it meant my parents would like spend the time that they spent with me with my brother, like he could be the only child for a bit, and I thought that would be a good thing for him, if that makes sense. Like, I thought that would be nice because he'd always been a sibling, but actually it was the opposite. It was like weird without me, you know. It just didn't work in the same way, and they had to relearn how to be a family together because also I was very much, again, parentification, I was very much like not the same in any way, but like I was very much a kind of moderating influence on my family. Like, I kind of kept things together in ways that I didn't even realize when I was a teenager, you know. Like, there are things you don't even think about when you're a kid, but there was so much that I did, the way I kind of included people, the way that I kind of kept those connections going, and I had things in common with everyone. I think when I wasn't there, suddenly it was like, oh shit, you know, what do we do without Charlotte there? How do we do this? I
really feel that.
Yeah.
And me personally, I hated being an only child.
Yeah.
After like having like siblings for a lot of reasons, I really hated that.
For sure.
But maybe as we were talking about this, maybe I'm understanding on some level why I feel so strongly about Sean and Daniel staying together.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I do too. I think it's something where I think it would, as an older sibling, I would have found this really hard, but I would have done anything to keep us together, you know. And one of my best friends is an eldest sibling of multiple siblings and a huge fan of this game. Yeah, I can imagine, especially being an elder sibling of multiple siblings, you'd really feel it, like, because like I obviously only had one sibling, and was only the older one of one. So yeah, it definitely is probably a very different experience again, like having multiple younger siblings that you're the kind of caretaker of in that way. And again, it's that classic, like, oldest sibling, like, it's the oldest sibling lot in life, right? It's to be the kind of I don't know what the word is, but like the kind of middle ground between parent and child almost. That kind of in between, that I think, obviously when I went to uni, I was like, oh, thank God, you know, I don't have to deal with that anymore. And I mean, I still did, I just didn't it was just, it again manifested differently. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's really making me think about this and how much harder it probably was for them than I even thought about. Yeah. Families. But yeah. No, I think
just stuff I think that all feels relevant to like what Sean and Daniel's relationship was going through before this happened.
Yeah,
the events of this game.
Definitely. Oh god, what am I doing? Sorry. Helps if I actually use the controller.
We were talking for so long, you forgot how to play the game.
I really did. It's because I've been like scrolling through chat and stuff as well.
So I can keep an eye on chat if you want. But
thank
you.
Puppy. What a way to wake up.
Yeah, I think something that really gets me in this episode especially is that like, and I think that every time I've played this game, it's something that's really like been evident to me, is that like Sean, like he looks like my brother looked when he was a teenager here. Like just like his build and his like shaggy hair, and so I find that like quite
yeah.
It hits hard.
Still can't believe we ran into the guys
Definitely.
again. Talk about fucking fate.
All right.
Let's go.
Yep. I'm a real man now. Kind of.
Oh, so ready to talk about Finn and Cass.
Guess he doesn't care about
You're so full of anger already.
I know. It's
another month.
I just sometimes I remember.
I'm just kidding.
Daniel keeps reading it again and again.
Oh,
I told him not to count on her.
Daniel.
He won't listen.
I think it's so interesting that like Karen says like, I know Sean and Daniel are innocent, and Claire and Stephen are still like, you know, the way that they are.
That's a really good point.
Makes me even angrier at Claire and Stephen. But it's also interesting again seeing that like that Karen, it's another demonstration that Karen is trying to do that work, right? That she has been unlearning a lot of stuff, because even though she barely knows her sons, like she knows that they're not capable of that.
Yeah, I'm putting it in my defense of Karen box. I think
next episode.
The way to approach Karen is to have a pros and a cons list.
Yeah, I think there are still many, many, many cons, and as we discussed earlier,
absolutely.
But
absolutely,
I think this is
going in the pros list.
Interesting, and it's interesting that Claire and Stephen had that letter, and they had that letter before the boys even arrived.
But
right?
They were too fucking racist.
But they were too fucking racist, and also the fact that they even made that help so conditional, right? Because in this letter, she's like, "Please help my boys if they come to you. You know, please help my sons if you can." Like, and it shouldn't be conditional in the way that it was with Claire and Stephen. It shouldn't have been. I mean, not that it should have been anyway, but like, if after this letter, would you not, would you not do everything in your power?
Actually, you know what? A couple of things I want to quickly unpack here. Help my sons if you can. Obviously, they can. They have like.
They've always been able to. Yeah.
I know you don't owe me anything. That's interesting as well, because like it implies that Claire and Stephen wouldn't do this out of the goodness of their hearts because this is their grandchildren.
That white waspy individualist Christianity rears its ugly head again.
It's just, the more you think about it, the more shocking it is.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it makes me think of like, those kind of like post-Tumblr, like, posts that are like, oh, that kind of vaguely, nihilistic, like, no one owes you anything, blah, 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 like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
it, and then you kind of have those counters of like, we actually owe each other everything. Like, that's not how you should live your life. Like, you owe people so much.
Yeah, true. Even if it wasn't their grandsons.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Even if, gonna get real spicy here, they weren't innocent.
Yeah, they should have helped them anyway. That's their grandsons.
I have mixed feelings about being an only child because I loved having my own space, but sometimes I wonder what it would be like to have someone who shared my childhood. Yeah, I gotta be so real. Like, it's complicated, and obviously it's different for everyone, but there's nothing like a sibling relationship, for better or for worse. There is nothing like it.
Yeah.
Like, nothing will ever be like that relationship.
No. It will be fraught, but it won't be the same.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, no, truly, yeah. And I think, I mean, again, won't go into it here, but like, I've been having for the past few years a lot of issues with my own brother, and there are still nothing like that relationship, even if there are times where we are not okay, you know? Like, the love I still have for him is so different to any other relationship I have in my life, because
and you know what, you know what is beautiful, genuinely beautiful, but also sometimes, like, for many people, for many reasons, very hard, is that I don't think you can ever really stop feeling that love.
No, not at all. And yeah
Anyway.
It's hard. It's very hard.
You're gonna say it hurts?
It hurts! It does hurt! It really does!
It sure does hurt.
Ooh. Anyway, we owe each other everything. Claire and Stephen owe these boys everything. Oh no, we've already
Another
done
month. We'll be hooked up for Mexico. Man, Beaver Creek feels so far away.
Oh, this is Daniel's bag.
Yeah, that's the little thing we got him.
Yeah. Just gonna see. There's loads. Okay, hang on. They've been there for quite a long time, I think, by this point.
Yeah.
I just hope Chris is okay after
I think some few months have passed. And also they're in California, so
yeah,
very different climate.
True. But I was just thinking, like, his hair growing that much and stuff. I'm gonna be honest though, I kind of prefer his hair like this to when it's like quite cropped.
Me too.
I think it's giving egg more.
Yeah, we're putting this in the Sean Diaz trans femme box.
Yeah, I did. Thanks.
Nice. Okay.
Slay.
I better hit the shower before
I forgot about Hannah's topless moment.
Free the nip.
And also Hannah in general, actually. I forgot about
Hannah's great. Big fan.
Yeah, I don't really remember how I felt about her. I think I was a bit unsure how to feel.
I don't know, I think I just was like, butch lesbian, question mark. I'm here. I'm there.
I mean, she
Sold.
is giving that.
She is.
I think there were a couple of moments where I thought that she was being kind of an asshole, but I don't really remember.
I can't remember. I've only played this game once, so
I'm gonna go in blank slate.
Yeah.
I do love these trees.
Shaggy
Ancient
hair,
and
Sean
majestic.
supremacy, so true.
So true.
So that is a beautiful tree.
That is. I've been to California, but not a particularly nature-filled bit, and I would
Living
love
the tree.
You're just like, give me those trees, take me there.
Take me to California.
Yeah,
That's where I want to be.
California. Yeah,
Did
I
you
went
see all that
to.
fog earlier?
I was near San
Freaks me
Francisco,
out.
so it wasn't like
I don't know
as.
what's inside.
I mean, it's gorgeous,
Goddamn
but not quite like this.
The
And I
sun
feel like
has
this would
saved
be
us.
like I'd love to walk around one of these forests.
Yeah.
Funny how I like being out in the forest now.
Sit and draw. Should we have a?
I
Oh,
actually
we could pet the
feel
dog.
Yeah, I want to pet the dog.
free. Yeah. Like you don't get
I
pet
was
enough
gonna
around
say
here.
that should we
Yeah,
let people
and there's
know
smoke too much
about
again.
the one decision that
I'll
we
get him
already
up
know we're
before
gonna
Big Joe
make?
gets
'Cause
here.
we put a hair.
Good.
Sean is going to have a
Stop the head
haircut.
with that asshole yelling.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Whether Daniel likes it or not. Sean's going to have a haircut.
Yeah, that's the one decision that we knew we were gonna make.
He deserves a slay little
today.
haircut.
Although I gotta be real, I prefer this.
Yeah, I also
shaggy
prefer
thing.
this, but like, bear in mind it's for such a short space of time.
Yeah, we want to see. Charlotte especially hasn't seen.
I've never
before
seen him with the haircut, so I
haircut.
want that haircut.
I've looked enough. Time to draw now.
Oh no, she is kind of an asshole, but I love her. That's fair.
Look,
I do have a stepsister who I adore, but our relationship's probably different.
Pretty good.
Because we didn't live together growing up.
But I can add
Yeah,
more
that makes a lot of
details if I
sense.
want.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense that a step
I think
sibling
I'm ready to draw
relationship
this.
would be different. It's obviously not like any less, but
it's just different.
but it's just different.
But I feel like every sibling
Faye, they
relationship.
haven't- she hasn't seen that scene, so
Oh.
we're gonna
Time to
talk
take your
about
pen,
fun.
dude.
yeah.
Ooh, discourse time.
Also, I think that we were talking about this last time that you were playing, like when you were playing on your own, Charlotte. And there's a conversation that I think you missed with Cassie that I really want us to get
Ah, okay, that's good to know.
because the information that we can get from Cassidy
Nice.
is I really want to talk about it.
Okay,
Yep. I'm up for some heavy barrel lifting tonight.
Just do your fucking
Yay.
part. I love that.
Coffee time, Sean. Man, grab something and sit your
I mean,
ass down.
obviously this whole situation is not ideal for them for a lot of reasons, but they are kind of
I
making the
heard
most of
nothing,
it and
Penny.
turning it into like a slay little commune.
yeah, I like it. I think. I
Maybe
mean,
it was
it's
the
probably
coffee
the
brewer.
most like.
Never mind.
Other than
can't
their
hear?
home at the beginning, this
Oh,
is kind of the
me.
nicest place we
I
see
don't
them in,
understand.
honestly.
How you miss all those insects?
Yeah.
How the
Karen's
fuck?
commune is quite good as well.
Swarm
That's
is
the
coming.
vibe. But
Yeah,
this
that's
is-
true.
This is really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Penny.
Wait,
Penny is the most like
Cops?
just character design wise the most
coming to
slay
bust us?
minor character in this game.
Sean, them motherfuckers is gonna shut down all the farms. Make room for Big Pharma. You'll see. No way Big Boss can pay them off. It ain't gonna happen.
That would be shit for me and Anders to lose the job.
I forget.
The cash is good for us to travel.
Oh, shut up. Shut the fuck up. I forgot about those fucking what are they, Swedish?
Yeah.
Those fucking Swedes who just want money to travel and everyone here is like poor and homeless and
Yep.
desperate for a job.
But they're like, we're not going to have enough money to go to Europe. Oh my god.
so
It's so hard for
Then-
us.
where's your next pit stop?
We want to see all the cowboys in Austin.
Also,
But
look
we
how
spent too
fucking
much
burnt
money
she
so
is.
far. Traveling is expensive.
That
Depends how
feels
you
like karma.
I mean, look at us. Push,
Yeah.
Now when they legalize that shit,
Then you can work legal
That
on
little
the farm.
gleeful laugh is
right?
how I feel when I see a
right if the
sunburned
government
IOF
steps in,
soldier.
Yeah.
then the pigs, pill pushers, all bad.
The way she's like, but if they legalize the farm, you can still work on it.
Decriminalize. I really feel like I cannot emphasize this enough. Some people don't know the difference between legalizing and decriminalizing.
Yeah.
Decriminalization is what we want, not
Yeah.
legalization.
Always.
The reason being
for every
that
situation.
legalization- Yeah, for every situation.
Yeah.
But especially drugs and sex work.
Hmm.
Because essentially, like, legalization models involve introducing a lot of restrictions and laws which are enforced by the government and the police.
Yeah.
So it's not actually good
Like,
for
for instance, most of the people working here would not be able to, in a legalized pot farm, would not be able to work there because they'd have to go through background checks and.
exactly.
Hello, Arthur.
So they would have to they would lose their jobs and they'd have to find other work because like they're homeless or criminalized or undocumented. Hello, baby boy.
He's off. Didn't take long. He was like,
Cammy.
no. Hello, boy. Oh, he's looking at me all offended now. He's not happy. I'm gonna say can't screw workers because, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
At least they can't just screw
Oh,
over
no.
workers. Like
I mean,
here.
What?
Oh.
And there's people like you and me will be
Well, they
fucked.
can screw over them.
No paperwork, no job.
Yeah,
True.
Penny is right.
I hear
Penny is right.
Everything
Oh,
Penny is saying is the truth.
Did anybody see Daniel? I haven't seen him this morning.
I saw him walking with Finn. They were headed to the lake.
Thanks, Ingrid.
Get some sunscreen,
Better
Ingrid.
see what he's up to.
You're stressing me
Tell
out.
them no swimming.
Or leave.
That lake
Or
is
leave.
toxic, man. Nasty.
Go somewhere else
Yeah.
with all that money. Instead of taking up jobs that
I
people
keep thinking
need.
you're Dutch. Because we...
Like, why are they even working
from
on a
again?
weed farm?
We're so
Like,
lucky these guys took
Malmö.
us in.
You wouldn't
I
hear
literally
about it.
don't know. I feel like they're very much like backpacking, so like, oh, it's the adventure,
a long
you know?
fucking way to work a farm.
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. Been working for 3
Worst type of
years in a
people.
coffee shop to pay for the trip.
Well, they're up
That
there.
shit was worth it.
Oh yeah. Good times.
Okay. So they went. She worked for 3 years
Wish
in a
we
coffee
came
shop
sooner.
to
I
afford
feel like
this
we will
trip.
never see everything now.
And
You did.
is now
Gotta ride
working
with
to
us,
be able
right?
to travel more.
You
Yeah?
saw the real shit.
I still feel no sympathy.
I will miss
No, I'm just like trying to work out what the hell, why the hell they're here. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it doesn't
I
make
don't know,
sense.
man. White people whose entire personality is traveling.
But I'm like thinking maybe it just pays better and you don't have to pay
Maybe.
taxes and stuff.
We hold off
Ugh.
on Mexico.
Yeah.
But can I really keep Daniel here?
I mean, there's that. Also, they're probably, I guess they're probably on a tourist visa, not like a
think you forgot
worker
something,
visa.
son.
That's true.
Well, make some
I don't know.
more coffee, right?
But I don't know because I don't know, they're being quite like vague about it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That makes
So, like,
you
are
make a
they
good point.
planning,
My bad.
like, because it doesn't sound
Not
like they're
your
planning
coffee,
to
boy.
move to the
We share.
US, in which circumstances they would have saved up money for 3 years to
Yeah.
buy, like, a worker's permit and
Yeah.
visa. And then eventually try to get naturalized. And they could find,
Water's kinda
like,
rare
they
around
would have
here.
the paperwork to find, like,
Everything goes into the
legalized
plantations.
work.
Yeah.
But if they're just on a tourist visa and like scrounging around for tax-free money so that they can keep traveling, then I don't know. That's kind of
What's the date today?
A, stupid, and B, scummy to
Yeah.
me.
Weird we didn't see any bears.
Are we gonna
all
snoop
that
through
trash
everyone's
lying
tents?
around.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. we
We're
can't make
yeah,
flashbacks.
Maxine Caulfield mode.
Yeah. 100%. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's any chores I can help out with.
Man,
I think that
would've
going to
killed
the
for
lake
something like
progresses
this
the plot,
back in
right?
that
So-
freezing
Yeah.
house in Oregon.
Oops. Not that you really need it in California.
Wish I could send her a cool gift.
Oh. I'm gonna talk to
It
Jacob.
potentially gets cold at certain parts of the year.
It does, yeah, but like bearing in mind this is like spring coming into spring summer by then, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Jake?
Like I've been
Hey,
to
Sean.
California in spring,
Not much.
What do you got
like
going on there?
April kind of time, and it was like
This is a birthday card for my little
summer
sister.
here.
Don't laugh.
Aw, that's cute. How old is she?
She's 9 years old now. Like Daniel.
Do you miss her?
I probably miss her the most. I'm kind of jealous you get to hang out with your brother all the time. But I bet it's hard to be his brother and father figure.
I don't know what
I don't want
to
to say I miss being alone.
No, definitely not. I'm wondering if like ask Daniel, like, you know, how's Daniel feeling about it, you know? But also being like, that's my job.
Yeah, like it's it is hard, but like it's what we've got to do.
Yeah.
That's my job now. Full-time
Oh,
Daniel
yeah, he does.
Wrangler.
He's really lucky to have you. Hey, since you're such a pro big bro, what's a good way to end this letter? Goodbye sounds a bit lame, right?
Well, what is she into? Like
Yeah,
anime or
yeah.
video games? Puppies?
She has a pet chicken named Alexander.
Oh my god.
Sarah loves that
I
thing,
love
but
that.
She has a
creeps
pet
me out.
chicken named Alexander.
Slay.
Why not draw a creepy portrait of Alexander?
good idea.
I want to meet Alexander.
It'll
the
match
chicken.
my chicken scratch perfectly. Anyway, thanks for your help, Sean. I gotta finish this before I get ready for work. Don't want to be late or Big Joe will eat me for lunch.
You and me both. See you later, Jake.
It's interesting how much smaller that
Sean,
hoodie is looking on Sean now
thanks
as
again.
well.
Man,
Yeah.
Like I
that's
feel
a
like
good
he's
point.
definitely had a little growth spurt because it feels like it's shorter and less baggy on him.
Yeah. I think you're right.
They were headed to the lake.
I was gonna
I should
say,
go check on them.
my sister used to draw things for me all the time when I was a kid, which I
Cute.
loved.
I love that.
My turn.
Yeah, she was very good at like drawing little animals.
Gotta
and
stock up the
telling
shower and
stories about
kitchen
them.
later tonight.
How do I do it then? How?
Wish it rained more.
I think you. Wait, what
Nice
did
to get
they
fresh from
tell you to
water.
do?
I want to do some tasks. I want to do some chores,
Oh, right.
but he says it's his turn to do the water, but it doesn't say. It's fine. I'll nose around some tents. I might not
Well,
be
I
able to do
think
it
you
till
gotta
later.
find the water somewhere else and move it to the.
Ah,
These guys
maybe.
have top
But
I
let's
see.
snoop.
Wish I did.
yeah, they've got such nice tents and stuff as well. God.
Dickheads.
Yep.
Hannah's so private about her life. Plus, she probably hates my guts.
Just the bra hanging there, like she's not wearing that shit.
She's so private about her life, but she's not private about her tits, and I can respect that.
I'm not
Slay.
quite sure who Penny is. He's
That's
so
how a
out there.
woman should be.
Absolutely. Oh, I think you can do
No.
it later after the weed mini game. Okay, that's good to know.
Cool, thanks, Faye. Yeah, of course we definitely want to snoop around Finn and Cass's tents.
That girl is even more of a sleepyhead than I am.
She's so real.
Gotta have backup signs.
I think
Jeez.
that
She's way messier than me.
later, like whenever we're back in the camp,
It's hard
we
to
should
believe.
snoop because I think that's how we'll find an opportunity to snoop into Finn and Cass's things and learn more about them.
Interesting.
If we don't find a load
It's a
now.
mystery how Finn can be so messy and strong at the same time.
That's not. Okay.
Well, I mean, those two things don't have anything to do with each other.
No!
I always spot him reading in the morning.
Lord of the Flies, bro.
Like he isn't cool enough already.
We get it, Daniel. You have
I thought
Sean,
I
you have a
liked weed,
crush.
but this guy's on a whole nother level.
I really like. I live
Glad somebody's
in
getting some
a
action.
universe where 10 years later, Sean thinks about having a crush on Finn and is like, wow, that was fucking embarrassing.
It is like ick.
Just
ick.
like me when I think about the crushes that I had on white girls 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's only correct.
Yeah.
Weird to see him younger. Finn looks so innocent.
He never was. No, I'm kidding. That's
Finn told me a bit more about train hopping.
he's always been evil.
Like his Bible.
He came out of the womb with the
Can't tag a train without
Yeah.
paint. Glad to see somebody has Finn's back.
Yeah, I think that potentially we can look in Cass's tent later on.
Yeah.
And that's part of how So there's a segment where we can, so I think we should read this letter, but just quickly, I think there's a segment like potentially when we come back from the farm that we can look in Cass's tent, and also she's sitting around playing the guitar, and we can talk to her, and that's how we learn about her past.
Maybe I have no, I have had that conversation. I have had that conversation with her.
Okay, you have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Finn, thanks for the postcard. It was great to hear from you again. I love getting to hear about your travels, and to be honest, I'm living vicariously through them. I always wanted to see more of the country or even the world, but I took a different path, as you found out. I know we talked about this before, but after 20 years as a PO, I've seen too many kids tossed in and out of the system. We don't care about where they're going after they've served here a time, but that's what we should care about the most. We didn't get along at our first meeting, but I'm sure you remember, still sorry about that, but I knew I had to prove I was willing to help you before you could trust me. I wasn't sure that would happen. Don't laugh, but I love being proved wrong, and you did it. You showed me that on the other side of your pain and anger, you wanted to learn and help others who feel alone in the world without friends or support. I'm glad to see you found a group you can trust and travel with. I still worry about the trains and everything else, but you know that. I do hope you find a place to settle into and call your home. I know you will. There are things are a little tougher in the world than when I was your age, but every generation has to go through its own BS trials. I'm proud you're willing to practice what you preach. I hope this letter finds you well, and I can't wait to read about your next adventure. So don't make this old sob wait too long. I need the inspiration. Your friend, Kareem. San Diego, October 18th, 2016. Right. So we know that Finn was in the foster system.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, yeah, makes a lot of sense with a lot of the... I don't know. I know people are always like, his trauma. Because, you know,
yeah,
a man with trauma...
yeah, I know. I was going to say, I think that obviously I have sympathy for, like, the shit that he went through, but I still think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah. I think you can go through shit things and still make choices that are not shit.
But it's interesting because the way that, like, I feel like the person that Kareem is describing is not the Finn that we
which is interesting.
Good thing.
Because I feel like as well that feels like he's... It feels more like this is a choice. Not because obviously he grew up in the foster system and had no support, but as in he chose to come to, you know, be out here and do what he's doing. But I guess what I mean is, yeah, it feels like he kind of... It feels like he's quite good at being a chameleon, right? Of like trying to... Of like kind of showing people what they want to see in them. Because this is a very different Finn. And I mean, it doesn't look like that was that long ago. So that was in 2016, and obviously that's quite a recent letter.
Yeah, I think we're in like early 2017 now.
Yeah, so it's not that long ago. And I think it's something I definitely pick up from Finn is that he is very good at, like, yeah, being a kind of chameleon and showing people what they want to see in him and being what people want from him almost. And I think that's where, especially vulnerable people, and I think that's where Daniel comes in a lot with the way that he behaves. But yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We can keep an eye on that, I guess.
Those guys sure know how to live outdoors. They've taught me so much already.
God, they must be so uncomfortable, like, all the time.
I think you can get used to anything, but yeah.
Still, yeah.
It still sucks.
Yeah.
Jake's stuff
I think
is always
it's playing
so
on my
tidy
mind
and
again about, like,
just like him.
You know, like, one of the things that's kind of crazy about, like, the stupid, like, most recent Zionist discourse is, like, people, like, because this is so like racist.
Yeah.
But being like, oh, like Palestinians in Gaza are absolutely fine right now because they live in the Middle East and it's hot. Like, are you stupid? Like, do you not know anything about the vast, diverse climates of the country? And Palestine, like, notoriously is one of the most greenest and fertile areas in the
Yeah.
Middle East. And Gaza is near a desert, but
Yeah.
it is not a desert.
No.
And it does, in fact, get very cold and very wet in the winter in
Yeah.
Gaza.
Yeah. Also, it's like right near the... Is it the Atlantic? No, it's not the Atlantic. The Mediterranean Sea, right? Is it the Mediterranean Sea? Yeah, it's
Yes,
right near the ocean.
yeah.
Anyone can tell you who lives near the ocean, when weather changes like that, like it is constantly changing in that it's rainy or it's cold or whatever. Like even if you're in a hot country, the weather coming from like the sea will always be colder, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, people have been displaced from their homes en masse and
Yeah.
are living in tents without like clothes or sanitation or food in the rain and the cold.
Yeah. And they're sleeping on nothing. Like, they're so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We went swimming there a couple of times. Fucking cold. But fucking awesome.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. It's about to happen.
Yeah, I think we did as much sleeping as we could.
We did all the stuff we were allowed to do.
What the fuck, man? Awesome. Come on.
Okay, here we go.
Yes! I fucking rule!
Fucking hell, I forgot that he was throwing a knife with my
That was
9-year-old
dope.
brother.
What's up, guys? Morning target practice?
6 bullseyes in a row. Kid is a
We're
fucking
both already
ninja.
really angry.
Hey, we didn't want to wake your sleepy ass up.
Yeah. Thank you for that. You okay, Daniel?
Hey,
Seriously,
Hey.
I've never seen anyone throw like that.
Look at Daniel's face, he already looks like an angry young man.
He's giving early, he's getting his teenage years in early, you know?
I know, yeah.
Like,
he's
hey,
not-
do you want my
that's
brother to
worth
think...
talking about a bit though, actually.
Yeah, accelerated growing up, right? But also, like, how Finn's influence is changing him as well. But it's like this kind of
Yeah, for
desperation to be seen as cool by Finn, and this idea that, like, his big brother showing up is like, oh my god, Finn's gonna think I'm uncool, you know?
Yeah, and it like being surrounded by people a lot older than him, because like I feel like when I was a kid I was also always often surrounded by people a lot older than me, and I just didn't have enough of like actual relationships with people my own age, and like that absolutely had such a huge impact on like the way that I was trying to act, and like I was
Yeah.
always trying to like be more mature than my age, and if people told me that I seemed really mature for my age, which is something I now feel a lot differently about, I would take it as a compliment and I would be really happy about it, and like I was always trying to be an adult.
Yeah, same. I
And
feel
now
like...
I'm like, huh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like an overperformance, right, of like adulthood. Sorry, Austin Ferry. I have complicated feelings about that because I used to like Finn a lot when I first played this game. I can be kind of naive when it comes to people sometimes because autism, and I often get fooled by people with shitty. So I didn't want to see how shitty Finn was at first, I think. Yeah, I get that. I completely understand. Like, the thing is, if I played this game younger, I probably wouldn't feel as angry towards Finn as I do now. But in this context now,
Yeah.
I hate him.
I think that he there are things about him that set off immediate red flags for me as a person.
Especially the dreads, but I mean that's the initial thing.
This is the thing, right? So I would say that as like a racialized lesbian, I have certain immediate things that make me be like, I don't want anything to do with this person, and like
a white man
rightly or
with
wrongly,
dreads.
rightly or wrongly in terms of like, you know, but it is a like mechanism that I've developed. I would see a guy that looks like Finn in public and I would be like, I don't want anything to do with you. I'd like,
yep,
you know,
yeah.
I would, and if he tried to talk to me or tried to engage with me, then I would already be like on the defensive and on the wrong foot. And I mean, I feel that way about white men in general, but especially like a white man with fucking dreadlocks, like and behaving in this way.
I think it's the way. I mean, same in terms of the dreadlocks, because I just instantly be like, ill. As we discussed, I think last episode, white people with dreadlocks are not clean, quite frankly. And I don't mean like, you know, obviously
morally, spiritually,
but no, I mean obviously they're in a forest and they're homeless. Like they're not going to be like washed, right? But like the amount of stinky mold in his hair right now upsets me to think about. Like I know he stinks.
I mean,
I know he stinks like in a specific way.
I'm more upset about the racism, and then I feel like the stinky kind of feels like karma to me.
Yes, but I just mean as in not just obviously the racist aspect. Like it is not a hair. What I'm saying is it's not a hairstyle for white people because it's stinky, but also because it's appropriation.
But also in a practical sense as well. Yeah. But it's just I think that it's something that I'm very aware about in myself, and I think that, you know, I think that like in general I can be very like on guard and on the defensive with like white men, but especially like a guy who looks and acts like Finn does.
Yeah.
You know?
I think his way is like, for me, I feel like especially if I was like in care of a young person, like a young kid, and I was letting them spend time with an adult who was not me, or a person in their life who was not me, I would instantly be like, get the fuck away from Finn. Because there's just like
that too.
He doesn't show Daniel respect, but also the way that Daniel is around him like worries me, because it's like a level of hero worship that is just not, it's not like, I understand it, like we've all been through that, like we've all had people in our lives who we've like idolized, but I know that that's, especially for a young kid, if he idolized someone who like was someone that I could trust, that's very different. But idolizing someone who is letting him throw knives as a 9-year-old, I'm like, get the fuck away from that. Like, absolutely not.
All of that is true as well. I think I want to put on the table that I know that it colors my reaction to Finn and to kind of place that, but I think that it's interesting thinking about how Sean and Daniel react to Finn, because like, I mean, but because it's like objectively true, statistically speaking and experientially speaking, I see a white man like that, and the reason I hear Kill Bill alarms in my head, because that's like danger, right? That is a danger to me in all likelihood. Sean and Daniel are young men, so the way in which they might, you know, experience danger from someone like Finn is very different to the way that I would. But also they are still very young, and even though they've started to be put in a position where they're actually having to confront racism and the violence of racism in its kind of one of its most extreme and intense forms, like they have zero time to process that. And like everything is happening so quickly and so intensely, and there isn't really like time to process it. And I think that there are quite a few points in this game where you can see that a lot of like the, you know, internalized white supremacy that they would have grown up with, because we all do, including like racialized people, like still like pops up at times. And I think that they're still in a place where they think like they don't react to white men with like inherent distrust at this point. And that's something that, I don't know if it would be interesting to see if there's an observable change in that throughout the game, because I mean, if we lay out everything that happens in this game to them, I think that if after the events of this game, Sean and Daniel had a minute to process everything that happened to them, I think that the way that they felt about white men would change immensely.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, it makes me think of like the way that Finn positions himself within this commune is like an authority figure as well. Like he very much socially feels like an authority in terms of the like, even though obviously it's a commune, it's supposed to be equal. I feel like Finn is one of those people who they have a kind of natural charisma that kind of puts them in that position of like feeling like an authority figure and someone you can trust instantly. Cult leader vibes, in other words. I mean,
you're not wrong.
That's Finn's future, let's be real here. Depending on the outcomes of the next chapter. But yeah, like, to me, he has just that, like, that he positions himself in a way I don't trust.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As something that I want to say, just because I think it's an interesting thing for me to put out there and vocalize, is that, for me, if I was walking on the street and I saw Sean and Finn, like, and I didn't know them, and they were just people I saw, and I was just seeing the way that they looked, and I was walking past them in the street, I would see Finn and sense danger, and I would see Sean and I would see familiarity, and I would not sense danger in the same way. And the reason why I feel like it's important to say that is not only because of, how racism works and the fact that like white people see Sean and they see danger.
Yeah.
And I don't, because of my like experiences and like racism, but also because like, I talk a lot about like, and often very flippantly about how I feel about men, but like I don't feel the same way about white men and like racialized men. I really don't.
Yeah.
The way that I feel about racialized men is a lot more complicated than the way I feel about white men.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, I don't know, that's something that I kind of wanna bring up, not only because it's obviously like counter to the kind of racism that we see in this game, which is everybody sees Sean and sees danger, and that's not like how I would react to him at all. Like I've been saying, I see him and he looks like my brother.
For sure.
And in fact I see like people like Finn and I sense danger instead. But yeah, no, that's just something that I felt like it was important to add into the mix.
And yeah, Lost in Fairy's point about like Cassidy says at one point Finn likes to play daddy, so like to be in charge in a patriarchal way. I do feel like the way that Finn acts feels very patriarchal, and again, it's that like kind of positioning himself as authority that I just instantly distrust. And also
and it does sound like maybe
he's a white man with dreadlocks, so yeah, run away.
So at the end of the day, I am making a snap judgment based on how he looks.
But also, we're making a snap judgment based on how we have experienced him when we've played the game before. So
that too.
Right. This is where it's all going to get very complicated and all my big sister feelings are going to come out. Let's go. So I don't think Daniel is old enough to be playing with knives. I think that is a fair thing to say. I do not like it. I want him to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that the thing that's tricky with this and many other things, especially because we're talking about like how Daniel behaves a lot like a teenager in this episode, like more so than a 9-year-old. I feel like he's acting like a 14-year-old in this episode. if there's one thing I know about 14-year-olds, having been a 14-year-old myself,
it's telling them not to
that
do something or that they're too young to something is like kryptonite.
they're gonna do it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna say anything more than this, but this was something I thought about a lot yesterday when I watched Sofia Coppola's new movie.
Interesting. I'm excited to see it.
Talk to me about it when you watched it.
I will.
But anyway, so that would be the thing that makes this complicated.
Yeah, which is why I am going to get very stressed about a lot of the future decisions in this particular chapter, because so much of it is about having to play your cards right with Daniel, right?
Yeah.
And like kind of picking battles a bit more than you would I mean, we did a bit of that in the previous chapters, but the way that he is acting and the kind of teenagery behavior, I think there are things where I will probably let things slide more than I would like to, but because I know that he will not respond to me telling him off or telling him he's too young for stuff.
Yeah.
That you have to do it a bit more carefully.
Yeah, also just briefly to respond to Faye's comment. Yeah, obviously, despite the fact that I'm afraid of men, I recognize that as a white quote-unquote woman, or, you know, like appearing as a woman or being read as a woman, but not really identifying as a woman, I have power and privilege over racialized men in a specific way, and my fear can be weaponized in a racist way. I think that's really important, right? Because I guess that, like, for white women or people who are adjacent to that political position of white women, like, the thing to think about is that, like, you know, if you have a emotional response of like fear towards men, like, I think that when you have that fear response towards racialized men in particular, there's something to untangle there about the difference between like the trauma that you have as a woman in response to like men per se, and the racism that you've internalized about how racialized men are like more violent and aggressive than other men.
Definitely.
And you're right, like, if a white woman expressing fear of violence from a racialized man is something that can be used in a violent way against those men, in a racist way. So that's a really good way of articulating it and thinking about it.
And it's definitely something like I unpack very often, or work to unpack very often, as someone who lives in a quite racially diverse area as well. Like, a lot of the homeless people that I walk past are often racialized people. A lot of the people, just around me in general, are racialized people, and they are my neighbors. And, you know, having to work, I don't want to lead with the assumptions that they would hurt me, because that's not how I want to. I mean, that's obviously racist, but also it is, I want to be in community with my neighbors, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know, I feel like a lot of, and this can get into very, like, white woman TM territory, but there's a lot of fear in general of, like, the outside world, of your neighbors, of people around you, especially, like, in particular, like, communities. So, like, I mean, I've talked a bit before about, like, I used to be very into true crime, and like a lot of the like people who are interested in true crime are white women, and a lot of the rhetoric around that is no one is safe, no one, you know, like this constant kind of be on guard, be fearful of everything. And I think some of it can be useful in terms of like navigating situations as a woman where you inherently are told that you should just go along with things, and actually stopping those situations from happening and kind of going no, and reacting where you need to react. That can be helpful, but a lot of that fear is racialized fear, right? It's fear because you are a white woman and you've been told that racialized men want to hurt you, basically. And I think that prevents people from experiencing community.
And I think that's so true.
Yeah. Especially, again, living in the area that I live in, like, it's a very racialized area. It's very diverse, and I don't want to come into this area, especially bearing in mind, like, you know, I am a Londoner, but I'm in a different part of London than the place I grew up. And my presence here is not inherently gentrification, but there is a gentrification aspect to the reason I'm living here, right? And the last thing I want to do is create that tenfold in my own community.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's also kind of nice to think about, like, how obviously, like, you know, you're thinking about how you can perhaps even unwittingly perpetuate violence against racialized men as a white woman, but also you're thinking about how racism stops you from having community, which is actually, I think that's really important.
And I think a lot of people don't think of it that way, but it is really it's such a huge important thing. Like, if I was distrustful of my neighbors, I would not have any allyship with my community, you know. Like, it just wouldn't, nothing would function. There would be conversations I can't have. There would be people who can't take my parcels, like, even just functional things like that. I wouldn't be able to go to any of the nearby shops, like, you know.
And I mean, you're winning because brown people are the best neighbors that you can have.
Ramadan is a great time for me, I'm going to say it. Like, our neighbors give us so much food. Well, generally throughout the year, but like in Ramadan specifically, we get a lot of good food. So I'm winning.
You are winning. And that's why you should dismantle racism.
Yes, exactly.
That's not the reason why, but that is a pro.
No, it is a good side effect of dismantling racism.
Okay.
Yes.
Very quickly, my flatmate might need me to let me into the flat, so if that happens, then I'll let you know.
That's fine. Yeah, no problem. I mean, we probably might have a break in a bit anyway.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think taking a break soon would be good.
Getting a little peckish.
What's your feeling about what we should go with here? Because I feel like it's just going to go badly if we say that he's too young for Blades, but also that is an important boundary to set, even though he's not going to like it. Even if he might do it anyway, I think that maybe expressing that that's like a boundary that we believe in and that he should have is worth saying anyway. Even if we can't police it, and even if, you know, we shouldn't necessarily even want to police it.
I think...
What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's really hard because also bearing in mind his power, like, yes, I think he's too young to be playing with blades, but also I know that he will probably not get hurt. My concern is that other people will get hurt.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think that, like, you know, in the last episode, we did our best to communicate with him that we think that he should only be using his power, like, in extreme circumstances to help people.
But I feel like if you say 6 bullseyes, from my memory, that's also a way of Sean calling out that he's using his powers.
Oh, right.
I think, like, it's kind of like a 6 bullseyes, interesting kind of vibe.
Yeah. Well, I think that my instinct, if I'm just thinking about, like what I think is good parenting technique, then I would say that, like, you know, I know that there's a likelihood that he will do it anyway. I don't think that this is something that I want to police, even if I could police it, but I think that expressing that
I don't like it.
I don't like it, and I don't think that you should be doing this.
Yeah,
is important to express,
especially when Finn is around. I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I agree with that.
Okay. Daniel, I told you about playing with knives. You're too young.
Parenting committee.
You know the rules, dude.
Don't stress, man.
Daniel.
What?
Hey,
don't stress, man.
What's up with you two? I should have let you know, but I'm watching him like a hawk. Seriously, much respect. He's like my own blood.
Who are you?
No, he's not.
I don't
Fuck
know
off.
You.
And not that I'm as
You're a
hot or
fucking
cool
stranger,
as bro.
You know, I know they've known each other for like a couple months.
Sean,
but...
idea. I want to see if Daniel inherits
not him calling.
blade skills.
I hate that he calls
How about
Sean hot in that moment as well.
Yeah. I also, I don't think that a lot of people have mentioned this that I've heard, but like Finn has a thing that he does which feels racially charged, where he like uses Spanish words to kind of try and be friendly, like in this very white person way.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds right. That kind of like...
It really fucking rubs me the wrong way.
It's just nasty. But yeah, the fact that he sort of uses that moment to flirt with Sean really pisses me off.
Yeah, fuck off.
Like, and like using...
I know, it's so frustrating because like, if Finn wasn't so fucking awful, maybe I'd want to be gay.
Yeah, but...
a little demo?
It was my turn.
Come on, let's give the man a chance.
I'm mad already.
I know, we're already so angry.
Why are you order? Okay, how do I...
Okay, you got this, Charlotte. You got it.
Blam!
Okay, that wasn't bad.
Right between the fucking eyes. Damn.
Oh, nice.
Oh, did you guys escape from some circus?
Stop.
Look at me go.
Seriously, that shit was off the chain.
Okay, now
One
Daniel's
time
gonna try and fuck
is
up
luck.
my shot, isn't he?
Second time is skill.
I don't know, maybe
So
if a
let's
girl was
see.
throwing knives, I would think it was hot. But like in this situation, I feel like I'm just...
I think I'd still be like,
so
Daniel
good.
shouldn't be.
Yes, I agree. I
Oh.
would say that if a girl was
fuck
throwing
that.
knives independent of the
I
whole I'm
rule.
trying to parent a
Yeah,
Sorry,
9-year-old
Sean.
child situation.
You're not a ninja.
Daniel fucked up my
Just
shot.
ask your brother for
Yeah.
help next time.
Little shit.
Yeah. What would I do without him?
Hey,
Parentheses
don't look at
with
me.
love.
It's not my fault if you can't throw.
Woo! After that workout,
Yeah, there's
need some
something
more
so
fucking Java.
Sorry, I'm just mad. I'm just gonna
No,
see.
there's something really gross to me about the fact that like Finn is behaving in this way. He's like he's intentionally, there's really no other way of putting it, right? Like he's intentionally undermining Sean's parental authority.
Yeah.
And behaving recklessly with Daniel.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to be fucking cute with Sean.
Yeah.
And, like flirting with him.
It just pisses me the fuck off.
Well, I think that it also feels like it, again, intentionally or not, it feels very manipulative to me.
It's so manipulative, and it's so like it turns from Sean going, "Hey, I don't want Daniel playing with knives," to, "Oh, now Sean's playing with knives." Like it's like instantly he's being undermined in terms of his authority, and also it's demonstrating something to Daniel, like in itself, like in that scenario, like it's just so like. I don't know. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm angry.
As you should be. I'm angry too.
Hate this man.
Wait! Don't go yet.
It's all good, Daniel.
Oh, also, we
can
should be
practice
for the
later.
lookout trying to
Also,
figure
then
out
it's
who
like,
he
oh
is.
yeah, we'll practice later.
Big brother.
No! I said no!
Love
Off
you,
the
man.
I'm
bat.
his father!
What now?
Fucking hell. I really, like, when I played this game, I'm always like, fuck, I
What do you
understand
mean?
Come
parents
on.
now.
Yeah.
Don't play dumb. You're showing off in front of Finn. You want him to find out?
Finn is cool. He wouldn't tell anybody.
You don't know that. You're gonna get busted in
Finn is not
You
cool.
need to listen to me.
Stop calling me that. I'm not a kid anymore.
Daniel, don't
Why? See?
stop, Daniel. Now.
Or what?
I said stop, Daniel.
Don't grab me!
There's
I'm
something
sorry.
quite scary about the
I didn't
fact
mean
that
to be
he
that
doesn't
hard.
think of himself as a kid anymore because of this, like, power.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's very
fine.
worrying.
I think it's so, again, sorry to pause again, but like the way Daniel's power affects things is also so interesting, and it's such a, I mean, I feel like we haven't, obviously it's kind of this like difference within like a racial society, but it's the fact that like his power is what makes Sean sometimes fear him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the dynamic, and it's not necessarily, I mean, it is political, but it's not necessarily something that like is you know, most racialized people don't have superpowers, shockingly. Even in this world,
as you know.
well, yeah, but in this world at least, in this universe, as in the game, but like, I don't know, I think it's so interesting that it's like a power that that Sean doesn't have.
Yeah. I think I talk a little bit about that in my in my video essay, that like it's really interesting because it feels like it emphasizes like Sean feeling powerless.
Yeah.
That you as the player are playing Sean and you can't actually control the superpower. You can only influence indirectly the superpower, and even if you try to influence it, it might not necessarily go the way that you want, because
you're not in control.
You're not in control like Daniel is.
Yeah.
And it feels so different from the other Life is Strange games in that way. And I think that that's something that's really, really, really interesting to me for a lot of reasons. I think that if you compare it with like Max and Alex's superpowers, there's a lot to be said there, because obviously you're directly in control of those powers. And the only other game where like you play as a character that doesn't have a power is Before the Storm.
Yeah, it's
right?
Chloe. But even then, she's given a mechanism, right? And she's not, as far as we know, although Rachel we can question, she's not interacting with someone who has a power. She doesn't have that kind of, she doesn't have that knowledge of power, of like there being some kind of supernatural force, right? She has her own power in that she has the backtalk function.
Well, it's interesting though, because like when I play Chloe, I don't feel very powerful, you know.
No, and that's true. But there's not like someone with power in contrast, I guess is my thinking.
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say that like it's very different, but in a different way. I feel like when I play as Chloe, I don't feel like I have power, and I don't feel in control like the same way. I don't feel in control or like I have power when I play as Sean. But and you know, arguably it's also a theme in the original Life is Strange, because even though Max has this time traveling power, like
she doesn't have control over it.
Yeah, she can't control anything, and such a central theme of the game is that no matter how hard she tries to use this power to control things, she can't.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in many ways that seems to be something that the whole series is interested in, like this idea of power and control.
Yeah, like the people who have the powers are often not people who are powerful. Like Alex is not powerful. Chloe is not powerful. Well, obviously Chloe's not got power, but Chloe's not powerful. Max isn't powerful. Daniel's not powerful. Yeah, feels like a kind of running theme.
But I think that I always find it like I always feel most like desperately like I'm scrambling for control, or I feel most desperately out of control when I play this game.
Yeah, like, constantly. Definitely.
Just which I think like speaks again to the sophistication of the like narrative design.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and I mean, this is the only game where you're trying to parent a kid.
Yeah, which is something that, you know, I imagine makes people feel powerless all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, but I think that's something that I don't know as much what to make of, but maybe is some food for thought, is like how we think about Daniel in contrast to how we think about Sean, because, you know, obviously he's the one who has the power, but he's this little kid in these horrible circumstances.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, okay, you know, I guess if you refer to it as like an ability or superpower, just to like differentiate that from like power as a political idea.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he has this ability, but how much like power?
Yeah, it doesn't give him political power. It doesn't give him social power. actually, in fact, if he didn't have that power,
like they'd be dead. Like
they'd be dead. But also, like, I'm trying to think what the police officer wouldn't have died.
Well, no, but I guess that maybe that's an interesting line of thinking to go down, because
like, I'm trying to think of the logistics of, like, obviously I mean, I'm not saying they would be safe, by no means, because they also shoved that kid, the other kid, the neighbor's kid.
Yeah, so I think this is actually a really interesting line of thinking to go down, because so in that scenario, like, Esteban dies either way, and then Daniel discovers his power through an intense emotional reaction of kind of like anger and grief and shock to that, which results in physical violence and the death of the cop. Certainly in that moment, it feels like potentially allegorical for, like, you know, a kind of violence of resistance. And I think that often the choices that we're given about how to use the power and the ways that we observe Daniel using the power can be thought of in that context. So, like, in the first episode in particular, we talked a lot about, you know, armed resistance and, you know, the justifications that we gave for Sean responding with violence towards, like, Hank, the gas station guy, and stuff like that, right? And it's really interesting to think about Daniel's power being born in that moment. And I think that, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of, like, the different, like whether this is something that's a consistent thread and whether it's helpful to think about it in that way, but maybe it is.
It's definitely interesting. Yeah, like, I just wonder the logistics of, like, what would have happened, and, like, whether Daniel has those powers or not. Like, they would still have to run away. They would still be homeless, right?
Well, I think it's also worth considering that if Daniel hadn't done what he had done, like, maybe him and Sean also would have got shot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I think that that's where it becomes interesting to think about it as,
yeah,
like,
that's a really good point.
An act of violent resistance, right? Because if Daniel hadn't done that, then him and Sean could have died in that moment, because who's to say that the cop wouldn't have shot them too?
Yeah, especially because the cop was then, like, freaking out, like, because he'd shot someone. Like, he was already stressed and scared, but then, you know, killing someone, I think, freaked him out even more, because he was then going, oh my god, what have I done, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the way he was acting, I could have easily seen him, like, pulling the trigger more.
Yeah, 100%, just to like, quiet the situation.
Yeah.
So
I just to plant that seed, and maybe it's something we can see if that's a relevant way to think about Daniel's power as we move on. But
you're good, but you don't have control over your powers yet.
Yeah, but we stopped training since we got here. You'd rather hang out with your new friends.
Well, because we need to fit in if we want to keep that job, okay? But you're right. Let's, do some training later today. Cool?
Yeah. Let's go by the lake again. But, Sean, how long are we gonna stay here? It's been like a month.
I know, but we need more money to get to Port Dolores. Remember?
It's gonna take forever. We should try and find Mom, since we have her letter now.
it's interesting as well, because I was thinking about what we were saying about Esteban earlier, and I feel like this conversation, a lot of the themes of this episode are about the tension between Sean wanting to be his own person and make like other relationships as a adult, like, or someone who's becoming an adult, and needing to take care of Daniel, not only because imaginably that's something that Esteban struggled with as a single father, because when did he have time for himself and his interests and his friends, with like running a business and taking care of his children and stuff, but also because like I think that similarly Sean doesn't have any support in taking care of Daniel. And I think that that's part of why Finn's behavior pisses me off even more, right? Because Finn could be genuinely supportive in helping to take care of Daniel.
This is it. And like, if again, they're in a commune, like, of all the places where you can help, like, you should be able to ask for help in raising a child and support in raising a child. A commune, in theory, should be a good place for it.
Yeah, like, I don't know about you, but if I lived in a commune and someone joined our commune and they had a kid, I'd be like, what do you need?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think it's interesting seeing this particular commune kind of with the framing of like what collectivist care could look like, because I don't particularly feel like this commune is as collectivist as it wants to believe itself is. Like, you've got obviously Daniel and Sean, who are not really being given support. It's very much they're very much left to their own devices. It feels very individualist, and it feels very much like it just doesn't feel like what a commune could be. And it also feels, it still just feels very individualist.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very much like it's not understanding like being a collective as a political action. It's feeling like it acts like it's just a social thing. Like, for instance, okay, Sean and Daniel are doing chores, but is Daniel having to do different chores because he's a kid? Are they actually adapting things for different people? Are they actually are things according to people's needs and abilities, or are they according to kind of this one idea of what people should be able to do? I don't know.
No, it's a very, very good point. I'm gonna be 1 second because I need to let my
That's fine, go for it.
Be right back.
In the meantime, I'm thinking for this decision I might say again rather than I said no, because I really don't want to stop Daniel from being interested in his mum, because I understand why he is. Obviously I'll talk about with Sara in a minute. Also, Lost and Fairies left loads of comments. 1 second. This makes me feel... Sorry, 1 second. Just scrolling up. Powerlessness is a part of Chloe's character. Yeah, that's really true. I feel like so much of her personality and the way that she responds to things is due to her powerlessness. And the fact that she's never given power, which is really interesting. I mean, I'll be interested to watch your video essay. Thank you. This game is so stressful in ways that others aren't. This episode in particular, Daniel's behaviour makes you think of childhood trauma broadly and how it ages you. It'll make you feel like... people call you mature, but you're just traumatised. It'll make you feel like you're older. Daniel's power's political resistance is interesting. It reminds me of the storm as Rachel's revenge or Rachel's justice. Yeah. No, it's absolutely fine. This is good stuff. Like I think seeing these powers as political resistance is interesting in general in Life is Strange games, I think. Because we can think about Alex's way... I mean, I don't know if I would call her initial approach to her power resistance, but like she begins to use her power as resistance throughout the game, so using her understanding of people's emotions as a political resistance from specifically white men, who, and white corporations, right? Corporations that have caused the death of her family, pretty much. And then Max obviously feels powerless and anxious as a person and the ability to rewind her power or rewind time is a way not only for her to try and attempt to protect the town Arcadia Bay from the storm, but also to protect Chloe specifically, who is a powerless person. And that's obviously where Rachel's revenge comes in. But I think that the way if you choose the correct ending, which is saving Chloe, it's also political resistance, because the town is politically a mess, right? Like, you've got the fucking, what are their names? I can't remember their surname. The horrible, shitty guy that Max goes to college with, who's in her photography class. Nathan. You've got Nathan and his family basically running the show just because they're rich. You've got a principal who basically doesn't do his job and still, is taking money from, like, disabled funds. You've got so much corruption in this town that actually the storm is a kind of political resistance, and letting the storm kill Arcadia Bay is a form of political resistance. Yeah, this is definitely the stuff that Sara talks about in their video essay. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's very interesting. Sorry. Right, we're 2 hours and 41 minutes in, and we're barely through the chapter, so starting strong as always. I say that we're probably like maybe an hour into the game, if that. We'll see. We'll see how today goes. We may still be streaming by 10 p.m. Who knows? Once again.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I was just looking through Lost and Fairy's messages and talking about how all the Life is Strange games' powers are a form of political resistance.
Slay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me catch up on chat.
So I was saying that, like, in response to
Chloe's character, the disabled queer woman. Yeah. This game is so stressful in ways that others aren't. Yeah, true. And this episode in particular with Daniel's behavior makes me think of childhood trauma and how it ages you. I think that's definitely an interesting thing in terms of what we were talking about, of him seeming a lot older already. Daniel's power as political resistance reminds me of the storm as Rachel's revenge. Oh, I've always loved that. I know that you'll know that already because I talk about that in the video essay, but
it's so good. But yeah, I was thinking, in response to that, I was then thinking about, like, the different Life is Strange protagonists / like power havers, and it makes me think of, like, in True Colors, I feel like Alex is learning to use her power as political resistance. As in, by the end of it, she has learnt to, but at the beginning, she is using it as, like, survival.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, like, she's had I think that in in Life is Strange and in Life is Strange 2, the game begins with the protagonist, like, finding out about their powers for the first time, but Alex has known about her power for years.
Yeah.
And it's something that she's, like, hated and suppressed because she thought that it only brought pain.
Yeah.
And then I think that Life is Strange True Colors begins with kind of her thinking differently about her power and learning how to use it differently. So I think you're totally right. Like, both in that I think that she learns through her power, like, I think what it actually means to build community with people, which is something that understandably she's struggled with so much because of, the foster system and everything. So no fault of her own. But also, like, the whole plot with the big evil mining company, whatever they're called.
Yeah, I was saying that, like, her using that power against them to take them down, basically, is obviously her learning to use that power for political resistance, and because of her, Haven Springs is able to... I mean, we don't fully know what happens with Haven Springs in terms of the, like, company, but Trident or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I saw this TikTok a couple of days ago that I was like, oh my god, this is it. This is the take. And it was
Typhon. That was it.
Some of my hot activist take of the day is that you actually need to have social skills to do activism, because like,
damn, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people don't want to hear this.
Yep.
But to actually make change, we need to build community, and building community requires social skills.
Yep.
And not all of us have social skills for many different reasons.
Yep.
But we absolutely need to be working on it. And it, myself included in this, like social skills are something that I've struggled with like throughout most of my life, but it's something that I'm constantly like trying to work on, because like, y'all, like,
we need that.
Important.
It
like,
also
it's
makes
actually a revolutionary skill.
Yeah, it also makes me think of how like social skills are thought of, especially like in childhood development, as like soft skills and like things that are not as important, and they are not prioritized by a capitalist system, but actually they are the thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, it's interesting, right? Because I think that the way in which like a capitalist system, education system presents social skills to us is like through like a model of respectability politics and like, you know, maybe trying to use people to your advantage.
Yeah.
As opposed to social skills that are actually like about community building and conflict resolution. I'm a broken record. I'm always saying this. Charlotte knows this. Conflict resolution is something that we all need to be learning how to do, and we need to be practicing if we have any hope of building sustainable activism.
And also, like, it's things like learning how to be wrong socially, almost, as well. Like, I feel like something that I have often struggled with is like learning to be wrong. And I think, especially again in a capitalist society, to show power is to be correct, whereas actually, as in to be correct, whether that be factually, like politically, like all of these things, is to, and it's where I guess the way cancel culture often manifests, and not in the way that it should manifest, which is to actually, bring light to voices that are being unheard, a way to deplatform people who are not, we don't want to support their views, right? It's often it often becomes this thing where people feel fearful because they don't feel like they can be wrong, and they don't feel like they can learn publicly.
Yeah, 100%.
And actually, that is the most vital thing: is learning how to be wrong publicly, and learning how to recover, how to use that situation, like how to work through that, because that's something that I really have always struggled with. Is I'm not good at being told I'm wrong, and it's something I really have changed on, obviously, because you wouldn't be able to do any kind of activism without knowing how to be wrong, basically.
Yeah, or like have functioning relationships with people, right? And the two are very intertwined.
Definitely.
Same here. I've had teachers say school is more important to kids for the learning of social skills, because you can be homeschooled, but figuring out how to socialize and live in society is something that school teaches in good and bad ways. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I think it's interesting you mentioned that social skills aren't valued as a skill you need to learn growing up, because as an autistic kid, I was put in a class to teach me how to talk. And to speak neurotypical. So
I think
so
with
I
that, for me personally, I
Sorry.
feel like it's not as such like they're not valued, but that they're not taught, right?
Yeah, they're not. I would say they're not actively taught, or at least the
Yeah.
social skills that we're talking about needing,
Yeah.
like conflict resolution and stuff,
Yeah.
aren't really taught.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that. So I think potentially I've talked about this a bit before, but I do have some beef with the term neurotypical, because I think that it implies that, like, you know, everyone who doesn't identify as neurodivergent or hasn't been given a
Sorry, I'm just gonna go and
diagnosis,
grab some water. I'll be right back.
no worries, like, thinks or acts or behaves in the same way, and reinforces the idea that there's kind of like a normal or standard pathology, which I don't think is true. I think it's like a homogenizing way of thinking about people. But what I think that I understand what people are trying to get to with the use of that term, and I think that in the context of social skills, I would say that nobody comes out of the womb knowing social skills. I think that obviously different people have different, like, abilities, and it's, you know, more difficult for some people to learn social skills than others. That's absolutely true, of course, but everyone has to learn them. And I think the thing is that in schools, some kids pick up social cues and skills that the school or that the society that we live in is teaching better than others, and those people are able to, like, navigate society in that way. But I think it's important to emphasize that those things are taught, they're not innate, because something that we're alluding to is that we are arguing basically that there's a difference between the social skills that capitalism teaches us and the social skills that we think are useful for genuine community building, which in itself is telling, right? That, like, we're taught social skills, but what are those skills actually? Like, and what do they accomplish? And how do they serve the society that we live in?
It's usually less skills and more like being taught a set of rules.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I think that some people are more able to, like, internalize those rules, and some of us really struggle with it. And honestly, when I think about those of us who really struggle with those rules, I often think about the fact that those rules are very unnatural, because often when I struggle in social situations to, I don't know, you know, I don't know, you know, respond to "how are you" with a polite "I'm fine," because what my natural instinct to do is to actually
Respond.
tell people how I actually feel, and these things are not like the social skills that capitalism wants us to have, and that's for good reason. Like, it serves a purpose, right? There's a reason why capitalism wants us not to be open and honest with each other about our feelings. So there's actually, I think that there's actually like it's a part of ourselves that feels that that is unnatural. I think that that's something that we really need to pay attention to.
Definitely.
And, you know, obviously people who are more able to pick up skills like emotional repression and emotional labor, that's actually, like, deeply unhealthy.
Yeah.
And something that we should be helping everyone to unlearn as well. So it's just to say that I think that I would want to challenge us to think, like, politically about those things. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense.
That's okay. Yeah, no, that definitely did. I'm thinking I'm going to say again rather than instantly shut Daniel down.
What did he say again?
So he was talking about them getting in contact with their mother And yeah, he's like, I would like let's go and find Mum, basically.
Oh yeah, I don't want to be like, I said no.
We already had this conversation. Sorry, Daniel, but we can't. We don't even know where Karen really is, and we can't risk getting caught while looking for her. She's one of the reasons we're out here.
And that's
true. Why we're going down to Mexico.
How come I never get to choose? I'm the one with the power.
I think I'm leaning towards B for this one.
Yeah, I don't love I'm the adult.
Yeah. Because being an adult does
is.
not authority figure make.
And it's not even true.
He's not.
I hear you. It's not fair, but you're my brother. And my responsibility.
I think that's a nice way of putting it as well.
I
like,
know.
I hear you, but
I'm not gonna be a kid forever.
It's a very Esteban way of doing things.
Finn treats me like an adult.
And
he
he shouldn't.
understands.
It's a problem that Finn treats you like an adult.
Big
Also,
joke.
did you just see the little cuts on his arms?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna beat Finn up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat him up.
Yeah. I can't remember what the outcome of this is.
Yeah, I think that reaction is a good reaction and something you should hold on to. Like, I think I bristle at being told I need to learn social skills because when people tell me that, it feels like it means you need to conform to everyone's way of communicating and being. But I think that that reaction makes complete sense, and like I wholeheartedly agree. But I think that we're kind of trying to challenge the idea that social skills means what capitalism says it means. We're reclaiming the term social skills.
We don't like other girls.
We're not like other girls. I guess maybe the phrase social skills is whatever, but maybe just like community building skills, like conflict resolution skills, relating to other people skills. These things.
Communication skills.
Communication skills. Yeah.
Communication is many different things.
And babes, again, nobody comes out of the womb knowing how to communicate. Like,
no.
It's not easy. Maybe it comes easier to other people, but I don't even think that that's inherently innate. Often it's because of the environment that they grew up in, right?
I agree with that. I feel like there are things I'm very good at socially, and there are things that I'm terrible at socially, and it's some things I have internalized better, and some things I really haven't internalized at all. I think it's a difference between, so I guess like social skills and communication skills are not necessarily charisma, right? Like I feel like I get away with a lot of shit because I'm charismatic, like so much stuff socially, but like
it's that Aries sun.
It's that Aries sun. She's charismatic, but like there's so like you can get through so much shit just by having charisma, and like no one talks about that at all. But like,
no, that's so true.
But that's not a skill. True. That's the innate-ish. That's the innate difference. Because there's a lot of things that, again, being white as well, obviously. But like, there's a lot of stuff that people with charisma can get away with not knowing those social kind of scripts as well, right?
Yeah, and okay. So I also there's a difference I think between learning and following social scripts, which is more what we're encouraged to do, and then like actually learning how to build relationships with people. Because I don't know if you feel if this feels relatable, but I often feel that in the the most productive work that I've done building relationships with people, it doesn't feel like you can follow a script.
No,
because
it's natural.
Yeah, and because like you can't predict how people will react, and you can't always say the right thing.
You can't
because, like, we're
metagame
human
relationships.
beings.
That's not how it
Yeah,
works.
you
Right?
can't read people's minds, like, and this is the thing. It's developing the ability to be wrong, to try and see things from other people's point of view, and to empathize with other people, to stand up for yourself, to be honest, to engage in productive conflict, like those kind of things. Those things are difficult, and like there is no script to follow. Like it's really fucking hard, and like I feel like I feel like I've been getting better at it, but I feel like I'm always struggling with that. And I don't know, I think that I often feel really bad about myself because I feel like I'm very introverted, because I struggle so much with like social script things, because like I struggle to pretend to be anything. But
that's because pretending to be something you're not is inherently unnatural.
well, yeah, absolutely. But then, like, I find that even though I don't have loads and loads of relationships in my life, the ones that I do have are very like meaningful, because there's been time and work and effort that we're putting into that, and that's what community building is all about.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's less about doing things correctly and more about showing up for people, right? And like putting the work in.
Yeah. In terms of how all of this relates to this episode, I don't think that this lot have that shit down.
No, they really don't. I mean, I know they're all a lot of like mostly adults, but they are kids in a lot of ways.
I think an important part of it as well is that a lot of them are very traumatized without having developed the skills to like, partly because of their trauma. Their trauma has like, you know, influenced how they've become and how they relate to people in such a way.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of them are homeless. A lot of them don't have community other than this, and that's obviously...
Yeah. So they understandably are lacking those skills and struggling to be a community.
I'm tempted to ask about the watch. I don't remember what the outcome was for this, but
yeah,
I think it could be a good bonding moment.
Yeah, I think so, because it shows that we remember and we care about it.
Hey, you don't wear your watch anymore?
What? Oh. Nah, I put this on instead. Finn gave it to me. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Oh, I thought he was wearing the watch.
Hey,
that hurts.
Daniel, remember what I said. Low profile.
Yeah.
Okay, we're cool.